I call this meeting to order is Monday, June 1st. Do the Pledge of Allegiance this time. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Leslie's doing roll call tonight from a distance.
Mayor Laughlin.
Here.
Councilperson Miller.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
Goodweiler.
Here.
Stulman.
Here.
Sexton absent.
We have no guest speakers. We've got a long agenda, so I think we're just going to keep on rolling. Public comment? Anyone? That's a no. Okay. We're going to do the consent agenda, and then we're going to switch things up a bit and do the last two items first. The comprehensive plan. That way, Mr. Fuller doesn't have to sit through an entire meeting. Okay, consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. A liquor license for Come and Go in Casey's Marketing at Casey's General Store. Parkside Petroleum as Parkside BP in Jack and Jill. This is a liquor license renewal. And cigarette permit renewals for
Mayor?
yes.
Leslie.
Yeah.
The liquor license is for Come and Go, and the other businesses you're listing is for the cigarette
Oh,
permits.
okay. Jumped ahead of myself.
Yeah, two things.
Okay, liquor licenses for Come and Go. Cigarette permit for BP, Jack and Jill, and Casey's. And we need to approve the claims report. Will someone give me a motion?
So moved.
Colton, second one. Nick will second. Any questions? My only question is, this is the last payment to Barnhart, I think, $44,000.
It's the most recent invoice. I don't know that.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's any more.
I was thinking it was the last one, but I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Okay.
I can't.
I can always say
double check.
that.
Okay, that's all. Any other comments? Okay, let's vote on the consent agenda, please.
Councilperson Miller.
Yes.
Goodweiler.
Yes.
Stulman.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Mayor, I don't know if I have to do this, but I'd like to
Go ahead.
make a motion.
Yeah.
On G, that we move number 12 and number
I guess you
13
probably did.
up to 1 and 2. And
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay, we got a motion to move the last two items, item 12 and 13, to the very beginning. Do I have a second? Tom seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Wait, I can do that way, can I? I haven't done that for a long time.
Yeah. Kevin's giving a thumbs up.
I was on a roll. Okay, so we are going to move into it's item 12 on our agenda. Is we're going to do it first. So I'm going to open a public hearing regarding the West Branch Comprehensive Plan update, which we do every 5 years, which the Planning and Zoning has diligently worked on with Professor Fuller's lead. Is there anyone here to speak on? I think
I have a question.
be a good time. Okay.
Don't we have to announce the agenda before that we're going to have a public hearing on something? I don't remember seeing this on our agenda last time.
I think it just has to be in the newspaper.
Yeah, that's what I was told.
There are some,
You didn't have to set the date.
there are some things you have to set, like budgets and projects and stuff. This one you don't necessarily have to. You just have to make sure it's published.
Okay, that's all I need to know. I just want to make sure we're doing it right.
So we're good to go. Okay, Professor Fuller, Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Committee would probably like to say a few things.
Well, Leslie was kind enough to provide for you a one-page handout with some of the key elements of this activity, which has taken quite a long time. We didn't quite make a 5-year period. Unfortunately, it took a couple more years. And what we have is an update to the 2011 comprehensive plan. That plan was revised a little bit in 2013, not very much, but a little bit. And so this is an update that's coming after 6 or 7 years or so. The P&Z has been working on this, as Tom knows, for quite a while. And we have at every stage had our chapters reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission and approved before proceeding with further with the next one. This takes much the same form as the 2013 plan. It has 13 chapters instead of 14. I guess fewer is always good. It combined a number of items. For example, the chapter on public infrastructure and facilities, which is chapter 8, added the topic of finance with staff help, and also includes the chapter on public and community facilities. All these things seem to fit together. And we had a chapter in the earlier plan on hazard mitigation. We kept hazard mitigation as a topic, but added a variety of other things and called the chapter environmental stewardship, which I think better reflects what the city would like to do. And it also has some appendices. One is an appendix that the earlier plan could not have, because that's our historic preservation plan. We finished that up in 2017. And it has the most recent trail plan, and it has survey results from the earlier community survey. We think that we have as much recent information as we can get on population, demographics, economic activity, trade areas, and so forth in this plan. We think it will be a very useful guide for the council as you go forward. It's going to be a useful guide, I think, for our commission as well. And it has updated a lot of things. Virtually every chapter has a number of different updates. But as I say, the format is really not much different from the earlier planning effort. So happy to have questions. I've got a copy of this 150-page plan with me and a copy of the historic preservation plan as well, so I can refer to anything in particular you'd like to talk about. But it's before you. We're happy to have it done, and I hope somebody else takes it up in another 5 years.
Somebody else?
Well, yes. I'm sort of burnt out on comprehensive plans right now.
Okay, I don't. I mean, I was kind of at most of the meetings. I didn't have a lot of input, but
Well, you came to our public hearing and had public
confidence that
information
it was
meeting.
being done well, and I think it's hard work. It really is. And these
There's a lot to it.
students work really hard. I know. We really are grateful for it, for their effort.
Mayor,
Yes.
what about coming up with a certificate of appreciation to the students that worked on it? I mean, they really, really did a bang up job.
Yeah. Are any still around?
Oh, yes, there certainly are. Either that or a proclamation or something like that that I would send to all of them. That would be very nice.
Yeah. Okay, we'll work on that for next time.
Well, thank you, Tom.
I don't have any. I'm not going to change anything. I've got nothing to change.
I think that was the comment from the staff as well, that there weren't any changes that they needed to see. Okay, well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that was public hearing part. Anyone here else? Okay, I will close the public hearing and we will move on to item 13, which is resolution 1901, approving the West Branch Comprehensive Plan 2019 update. Can I have a motion, please? Nick will motion, Jody will second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's proceed to vote. Leslie?
Councilperson Goodweiler?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Really
And thank
appreciate
all.
it. Okay. We did the consent agenda. Item G1, we are going to second reading of ordinance 776, amending chapters 105 and 106 of the Code of Ordinances of West Branch regarding solid waste control and rates. Need a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we consolidate the second and third reading of this ordinance. I normally am against that, but this is a rate change that we don't have any control over. And so I'm tired of talking garbage. I want to put this behind us. Let's consolidate both these readings and put it to bed and be done with it.
Interesting. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to consolidate two readings. Any discussion on that motion? Let's vote on the motion then. Want to do the ag thing?
Nope.
No? Okay. A voice vote then on the motion to consolidate.
No, you have to have a roll call. Sorry.
Roll call vote. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Councilperson Miller?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Okay, so this will be, I need a motion now to,
So moved.
second reading and the third reading of ordinance regarding solid waste control and rates. Motion by Colton, seconded by Tom for second and third readings.
Councilperson Miller?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
No more talk about garbage. Steve, you still there? Okay. you can
I'm still here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks. Appreciate it. We can get rolling now. So thank you.
Item 2, resolution 1905 relating to health and dental insurance for certain appointed officials and part-time employees. Any motion?
So moved.
Colton, second. Tom. Okay, so this is,
So if this looks familiar, it's what we passed a couple of meetings ago, but we didn't have dental in it. So after realizing that short overlook, we added dental, same language, but now dental is added with it. And this would include the
Okay.
fire chief.
okay. Do we rescind the other one or just let it?
No, the latest
Nothing?
that's approved is the one that reigns.
Okay. Any other discussion? This is for including dental, which wasn't included in the last one. Okay, let's vote, Leslie.
Councilperson Miller?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 1906, amending the city of West Branch sick leave policy. Now, we have a couple of different options on this one. I don't know how to proceed with a motion.
So on our resolution, there's a space for whatever might come from this meeting. So there's a blank that we'll just fill in if there's a new one, which I think there's one that's been proposed by Councilperson Dean, and then there's the three that staff came up with. So the last line is a blank, so we could just fill in whatever number option that is. in the resolution.
Okay, so Tom has given us all some of his thoughts on a plan for sick leave policy. Let's see here. Can we talk about anything, Kevin Olson, before we do a motion?
You're on mute.
You can go ahead and talk about the fourth option before you have a motion, just so you have all the options on the table.
Say that one more time, please.
Go ahead and talk about Tom's option first, so they'll all be on the resolution when you actually have a motion.
Okay.
We could just motion and put it on there as an option and then discuss.
But ultimately, we have to select one of these.
Yes.
As a final motion, or whoever makes the motion strikes out 3.
No, you don't have
All you need to put is,
Okay.
all you have to do is on the last line of the resolution, there's a blank where you put 4. If 4 wins, you put 4. If you want 2, 2, 3,
Yeah.
2, 1, 1. So they're listed there, and you just say which one you want.
But the motioner will have to say which one he wants. Otherwise, we're going through a elimination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final resolution. Yep, you're right about that.
Tom, give a little explanation on your ideas.
Well, our agenda, I went through this and tried to figure out what exactly each one meant. And by the time I got done with number 3, I was so confused I couldn't understand what was what with each one. And basically, I came up with a fourth option, and what that would be is each employee will be given 96 hours of sick leave at the start of the fiscal year. At the end of that year, there'll be no rollover or accrual for unused hours at year's end, and there will be no payout for hours not used. The current balances that the employees have, they'll be able to keep that, but they will freeze at those hours. And upon retirement, they'll be able to cash out at the amounts that was set down on January 1st, 2009. The other thing I don't have in there is say someone goes, the short-term disability will kick in at 7 days, 7 consecutive days. Well, if you have someone that misses 3 days here, 3 days there, 3 days here, and run out of sick leave, then they could tap into their sick leave bank that they have sitting there that doesn't accrue.
That would be current employees who have built up, say, 100 or 200 hours.
Yeah,
They would keep that.
yeah.
So 500 hours.
Did I understand you say that there would be no accrual after the 96 hours?
Right.
I think that would be detrimental to the employees.
Well, you know what? You go through and you look at through all the different cities, and you look at Durant, and they give them 5 days.
I think some of these cities are not very appreciative of their employees. And I think you have to look at employees who have time off, who have children to take care of, things like that, elderly parents, and give them 96 hours. For me, it's not a problem for me. But
Well, who else in here gets sick days?
So I was shocked at what I seen when they showed me the survey of the cities, because I thought 96 hours a year of sick leave was asinine, to be real honest with you. I mean, who calls in sick once a month? I mean, it just don't happen. And so you're setting them up to, I guess But all them cities, pretty much all of them, they're, except for an exception here or there, that's about what they were all getting was 8 hours a month. I don't get it. I mean, maybe that's the government sector of it. That's how it works. I mean, I don't work for the government.
That way at the VA.
I mean, I don't believe any of us have a job where we get 8 a month.
No, factory life, 5 days a year. That's it. 5 days.
You miss a day a month, you get fired. You don't get paid for it.
You're over that 5, you go to your vacation.
But at the end of the day, if that's,
This is very, very lenient.
All of the
This
cities
is
are.
very
looking at all.
gracious.
I just don't see how paying for insurance, letting them bank their sick leave, giving them a whole bunch of it. What's in it for us at this point? I mean, we're doing everything.
Until you have a stroke, a heart attack, till you have someone you have to take care of.
That's why you have short-term
That's
disability
right.
insurance.
You have
Well-
short-term and long-term and disability.
That pays at 60%.
Tax-free.
I can't say.
That's
It
tax-free,
is. It's tax-free.
probably.
I don't know.
So you might get 80% of your salary. After taxes, if there's no taxes withheld.
Take home.
Yeah, take home.
Take home.
Take.
Okay, so
I guess, can we talk about the other options? Capping?
Sure.
I think capping it at whatever we have now, or capping it at 380, whatever I had down. I don't remember all the options. But capping it, and then at 3 years of sick time, 3 times 96, what is that, 388 or 288? That's not a lot. There may be a few employees. I don't think very many employees take a month off, a day off every month. There may be some, but not very many. But the whole purpose is to have something when you are sick for 3 or 4 days, and then you don't have any sick time. I don't find it,
Well,
I guess that,
in my opinion, sick time is to fill in for the little 3 days. In a factory life, you have 3 days before you actually start your short-term disability. Okay? Your sick time is to cover those 3 days. So you get 5 days a year. So you can be sick twice a year for longer than 3 days at a time. But on that 6th day of the second incident, you have to use your vacation. And in factory life, you have to use your vacation before you can go to short-term disability. So I'm telling you, either one of these 4 is a lot better than factory life.
Mercy Hospital doesn't even give sick leave.
That's right.
They don't?
They have PTO, paid
Yeah.
time off.
Paid
Period.
time off. You call in sick, it's a vacation day.
Yep.
That's not really fair, is it?
well, it's
Yeah,
time off.
I don't
Yeah,
I don't get
time's
sick
off, time's
leave.
off, I guess, but-
No.
I get 40 hours.
I read all 3 of these options and it sounds like it's the same one. They've just added some words and took some words away. I mean, there's maybe some differences in the payout situation, but we haven't changed hardly the accrual and we haven't changed the cap on any of them. It's almost like they're saying that's unnegotiable.
Redmond, did you write this up? Why don't you
Yeah, I guess I
explain-
should
Why don't you
go
explain
through, yeah.
1, 2, and 3 then?
Okay. So 1, I believe is the closest to what we have now. in light of, again, going through the other cities and looking at 560 hours, we were actually pretty middle to low. So we decided to leave the 560 alone, and the rate in which it would accrue, which was the 3.6, because that basically reflect what everybody else doing. But where the differences came in were the payout situation and allowing things to roll over and accrue, and that's where currently we would go over the 560. So if you were to say get 600 or get to 600, you would actually get a check annually for the difference between the 560 and the 600 that you've accrued. So in this situation, we also were listening to the discussion, and we didn't want to, we know we have 2 employees that's going to be retiring, and currently they've been promised and planned on having a payout. And we, from hearing the discussion, didn't think that the council wanted those employees to lose any of that. So by implementing this new number of 560 and don't go over it, and starting it on December 31st would allow those 2 employees to get that payout that they have built up over this time as a part of retirement. Excuse me, hard to talk with this thing. And the other difference is that it would only be at retirement and not separation, whereas before we allowed payout of those during separation. So there's some small differences in number 1, but the big differences is it would not allow any buildup over 560, which is currently allowed, and this will only kick in for people who retire and not any other separation. And it would also protect the normal payout for the employees that are going to be retiring in the next year. Number 2.
Well, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Say that we're paying sick leave to people who quit and move on?
No,
Oh, I thought we do.
no, only for retirees.
Okay, I'm sorry, I
People who-
apologize. I thought that
People
was what
whose
we did.
time exceeds 560 hours, they get a payout presently after they exceed
Well-
560 in October.
If they're over 560, we're still paying them out.
Just in October.
So we're rewarding them for showing up and doing their job.
That's one way I suppose you could look at it.
So if they
But it's
separate
capped
with
right now
us
at
and they're over
560.
560, they still
Nice
get their
benefit.
payment?
If
They
A
don't.
lot
if
of
they
places
leave
have
employment, they do not
incentives for
get
people to
only
come to work and stay.
active employees over
healthy.
560.
Active employees,
Yes,
okay.
active employees over 560.
Okay, so we pay those employees if they're active over that 560. If they leave and if they have an amount over 560, they don't get paid for it.
If they leave, they don't get anything, do they?
They don't.
That's correct.
If they
So
terminate.
if they have about 560 hours built up and they decide to leave, they don't get anything.
They don't get
That's
it.
correct.
Exactly.
If they stay with us, then they get paid
So right now,
annually
we've
a
got
piece of
2
that.
retirees coming up in December. We've got 1 or 2 other employees that will have quite a bit built up already. Is that correct?
2 employees,
Yes.
Quite a bit built up.
yes.
So I think we talked earlier, we weren't gonna take that away from anybody.
That's what we were trying to
keep
do with
that.
option 1.
They can use it as a bank for the next 10 or 15 years, or how many years they work here. They can use it as a bank if they got 2 or 3 or 400. Did we consider that?
That was
Yeah.
what Tom
I think that's
talked
what you were saying.
Yeah.
That could be a pool that they have out there already.
But it's froze.
It's froze.
It's
Yeah.
froze. Yeah.
At
Maybe
year end,
Until they get under 96, and they can accrue it.
up to 96.
Yeah.
Annually. Is
Yeah.
that clear?
No, I guess
I guess I came in late, so.
No, not too late. So we
I
can
have a
motion to talk about it.
Yeah, we have any motion yet, so we're still
Well, he
talking.
doesn't have-
You okay, Kevin, still?
There's Tom's on it. Yeah, Tom's on it.
You're still fine.
Tom came up with a plan, a valid plan, ideas.
So you have these three.
But the underlying premise of, we weren't gonna take anything away from anybody.
Right.
We all agree on that or not? I mean,
I don't think we
What's
need to say-
earned up to this point?
Up to this
that
point.
earned up to
Okay.
is our-
December 31st is earned. This new plan would start January 1st.
Well, we
Have to
need
start
to
at
think
fiscal
about
or
the
fiscal.
retirees. Retirees, first quarter of next calendar year. So you might,
Well, they'd have to be exempt from that then, whoever's,
Well, exempt from what?
I don't know.
I mean, we're not taking.
We're not gonna
anything
take it away.
We're not taking anything away that they've earned.
Correct.
We may change the way they accrue it from here till then.
Correct.
But so be it. That's the system.
Yeah, well, the other question is payout becomes as part of the question.
That's another question.
So that would be if we changed it, they don't get it, say they don't
Well,
get any
well,
payout, then they would lose that.
again,
if
I
they
wouldn't-
retire.
I wouldn't change what's been promised to them up to this
Nope.
point.
Right.
But it seems like we're leaning toward no payout whatsoever. I'm kind of feeling that.
Well, if we froze their sick leave and say someone had 400 hours and they work another 10 years and retire, then they would get that at the retirement.
That they've been promised when they were hired.
Yeah.
But at the hourly rate that of what they were making today, not 10 years from now.
no, that's
Well, that's
not
a whole
the way
other-
You're gonna
it is.
have to,
No, it would have to be at their ending
It'd have to
hourly
be at
rate.
their ending.
Their ending hourly.
Yeah, it's too complicated.
That just gets
Okay,
complicated.
so that was just one that I was talking about. Is there any questions with one? Very close to what we have now, except we're not gonna allow any accrual over 560. And we will have payout for the retirees that we have in the process right now. And then after that,
Okay, I think one is clear.
okay. So two, it's the same rate of accrual, 96 hours a year. That's the 560. But then there won't be, that's no payout. No payouts after the initial conversion. And this one suggests that there would be four people who would receive payouts because currently they fall within the cutout. And I know that was part of Gordon. Could you explain that a little bit better than I am doing?
Well, I think there are two people are very close to 560. I didn't bring all my papers in, but two more people will by October be able to receive a payout. So 4 people would exceed the 560 and receive a payout this October.
okay, so what's the 25% or 50%?
Okay,
Basically
that's
start
what you do. You take the number of hours you have, multiply it. If you started work before 2009, was that what it
Is
is?
it 2009? Okay.
Before 2009, you get 50%
You get
Yeah.
50%.
of that 560 times your hourly rate.
After they get 20.
Yeah.
If you're hired after 2009, you get 25% of the 560 hours.
Yeah, they've done something.
Times your
There was a resolution that changed over.
So essentially, they did what we're doing now in 2009. So those people were grandfathered into. They were promised 50%, and in 2009 they passed something to say it's only 25. So anybody before that,
So it's
getting what they were promised.
50% of the 570, or is it
Yeah,
50%
560.
or 6?
560.
Or what, if it's
Or is it-
less, if they've accrued less, it would be that.
Well, all you're gonna do, if you reach 580 hours by October 1, you get 20 hours of sick time times if you started in 1909, you get 50%.
So it's the 20 hours that's going to get the 25 or 50%.
Yeah, it's 10
not the
hours.
560. Okay.
Yeah, 10 hours times your hourly rate of $20, $30 an hour, whatever it is.
Unless they leave you
So these
retired, then
payouts, these annual payouts don't amount to very much in terms of, they're not tens of thousands of dollars. They're only the amount they exceed the 560 hours by. And you cannot, if you're accruing only 96 hours and use half of that each year, you'd only accrue 48 hours that year, and then you get paid at 25% or 50% of that. It's not that anybody's getting
So
tens of
the
thousands.
retirees that are coming up, if they have 560 hours accrued, they're gonna get a check for
25%.
25 or 50% of that 560 hours at their current
Coming
rate.
up for 25%.
Well, that could be a $10,000 check.
Could be more than that.
But we
Well, yeah,
we accrued,
I was being nice.
we accrued time for the 2 retirees. It's in the budget.
We approved,
And
we
it's-
approved payout time, payout monies.
Pardon?
Did we approve payout monies?
Not for the 4 people.
Well,
Next fiscal year we did.
yeah, we budgeted dollars.
But they're talking about the 4 people, not the
Well,
2 people.
then if they're budgeted, why don't we just pay them out and be done with it? If it's budgeted for next year,
Well, we will.
Yeah, their grandfather.
Their grandfather.
Right.
They're
But now there were others that also had over that amount, 4 others. And that's what we're talking about in 2.
okay.
And that part
Yeah, but
hadn't
those people will reach
been budgeted.
their 560 hours this October, and then they'll be eligible for two additional people.
So we can start new but they would essentially kind of lose out on that.
okay, but what I'm saying is, okay, so I like Tom's way of thinking here, okay? But he's talking about freezing it and hanging on to it till when the other 2 retire whenever, okay? But I'm saying if we have the money actually budgeted for all 4 of those employees next year,
The other
Only
two,
the
the other
two
2 are
are
budgeted because they're not retiring.
Right.
They're only budgeted for like,
The other two
$100
are
bucks.
budgeted for like a 20.
well, I was
20 hour
confused
payout.
then because you said it's already budgeted.
Well, he
For
was
2
just
of
talking
them.
about the 2 that we
Two
expect
big
to be
ones.
legal.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
retiring.
Okay, so I have a question because I'm looking at salary. And the one that's gonna retire is a salaried employee, so he's not hourly employed. He's getting a salary. How's that salary being split for the 560 hours?
Divided by
I have to,
2,000.
I have to divide it and make it into an hourly salary.
Divided by
So I divide
2,000.
it by 2,000.
Yeah, that's how mine's done.
Okay, okay.
I still get an hourly wage.
Trying to figure out how that check's gonna, big that check's gonna.
And I guess
40 hours a week, 52 weeks.
the difference with 3 is that we got a cap of $2,000. So the payout would be capped at $2,000. It's got the same setup as 2, but instead of using the percentage, the 25 or the 50 percentage, basically we're saying it's capped at $2,000.
If you have 560 and you retire and you're supposed to get 10 grand, you're only gonna get
2,000.
Yeah.
So you might want to use your vacation time or your sick leave.
you have to be sick.
Well,
leave
if you're
sick
sick.
time, Roger.
If you're sick.
And there were a couple of cities that had that kind of example, so that's where that idea.
And I've
Okay.
heard of this happening with employees that can accrue this in different businesses where when they get to the point where they're ready to retire, they take 2 months off right before they retire, use up all that sick pay.
I've seen
Well,
people- I've
we
seen
can
people-
require that
pay out.
they bring in a doctor's slip. We don't have to just take their word for it.
This is sick pay only.
Yeah.
It's not vacation pay.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that could have been a PTO, because if it's a PTO, then all accrual is the same, and then you can do that kind of thing.
But then technically now, if we, with the short-term and long-term disability, you can't do that anymore. As soon as they go 6 days, they gotta go on short-term. So that's not even possible.
I don't feel like messing with a payout at the end of everybody's retirement.
Yeah, I think that needs.
How often do people really retire?
The thing is, we keep it at 50%.
Rather give
Let's
a-
say I got 200 hours, 10 years left.
I'm not gonna
At
say
some
that
point, I'm
people
gonna bring it
don't,
down
but I
to
mean,
96.
Yeah, you are, dude.
In this day and age, though,
Well, we'd like people to stay here to retirement.
Well, no, they would still get a payout.
I mean,
The accrued hours.
I have been self-employed for so many years. I'd be
Oh,
looking
you're
at
not
the city
saying-
for a job.
Because
that's
that's
pretty
banking.
good.
Can't do it now, can you?
Way at that, if I was right here.
Dang good.
Okay, so you're a little bit different. I thought you were eating at it.
No,
That's what I
so
was thinking. But you're talking this.
we're just not accruing the 12 days.
if we're gonna I guess my sticking point is not the 12 days, it's the banking it up to 560 hours. You know, so we're letting them save up almost 6 months worth of sick leave, and we're paying short-term and long-term disability for them. It just, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to do all three of those things. I mean, why would you pay short-term and long-term disability and let them save 6 months of sick leave? I mean, it's just too redundant.
I don't
And
think they get 6
expensive.
months.
Well, 560 hours,
That's
whatever
a
that.
quarter of a year. And when you have cancer, you might be gone for 3 months.
That's why you get
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
So if I don't, I will not vote to do all three. I'll vote no. But so the 560, if that's the hang up for me, because I think the short-term and long-term disability is a good idea. What if now the 560, you earn your 12 days, you use what you use, everybody's locked in, and you say they lose it. I say, let's put it in a community bank. So there's a community bank that's sitting there that everybody's accrual goes to. So if, I'm not even going to mention a name because I don't want to jinx nobody, but you know, Susie Q comes up with cancer and she's off for a year. There's enough hours in there to take care of her. So
The sick leave after, when you have short-term and long-term, is only designed to make up the difference. It is only to be used to make up the difference between your regular pay and the 60%. You wouldn't be using 100% of that sick pay immediately. It'd take a long time. So it's, you wouldn't use the sick pay in lieu of short-term or long-term disability. It'd be just in addition to.
Shimon's got a question.
Go ahead, Nick Shimon. I didn't quite understand that, Gordon.
So I wanted to make the point that some of these things are not handled by disability. So, I mean, my wife and I are planning on having another child, which is not disability. If something goes wrong, then yeah, I'll probably use a lot of sick time. Likewise, both of us work heavily with children, and we have a young daughter who gets into everything. I mean, sick time, yeah, right now is important. I banked up to 560 because I don't take extra stuff. Like, I don't take extra time. But I do have reasons now that I need sick time. And then I wanted to speak on the university part, that they do actually get a pretty good, the human resources for the university actually gets a considerable rate for vacation. It may be PTO, but it's still kind of the same thing. They still get 144 hours or 18 days per year. So that's all I wanted to say is, like, we want to have more kids, and that's not disability. So I don't know.
So to that point, a little bit of a bank for some, a little bit of a bank would be helpful for an employee. Nick? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, that's,
Well, that
A little
was
bit
the
of a
purpose
bank.
of having it capped.
Okay.
At a
we got
lower
lots
rate.
of hands up.
Matt Goodale. Matt Goodale. Go ahead, Matt.
All right, I couldn't get it to unmute. Is it unmuted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Nick said, the majority of what I use my sick time for is for my kids and doctor's appointments, things like that. I don't know. I guess I feel like taking it away is like penalizing us for, I mean, I understand that other places don't have it, but the majority of cities provide really good benefits, which is the main reason why I left doing construction work to come to a city, is for the benefits. Because when I came here, whatever, close to 10 years ago, I took a $7.50 pay cut to come there because there was benefits, which made it possible for me to do that. And I think I'll speak for the rest of the department for Public Works. I know from talking to them, they'd prefer to not have if it came down to losing what we have now to get short-term and long-term, none of them want short-term and long-term over what we have now. I don't either, because you can't use it for anything other than if I get hurt, sick, whatever. I can't use it if one of my kids gets sick, or if my wife gets sick or something like that. I can't use it for doctor's appointments, which right now, if I got to take 4 kids to a dentist appointment, I have to take off half a day to go do that. So then what? I just use my vacation? I mean, I can do that, but it kind of defeats the purpose of having any kind of sick time or anything if you can't actually use it. Like right now, it's a really good benefit. If you cut it down to 5 days and give a short-term and long-term, to me, it's not as good a benefit. I don't know. I guess I'd like to see the city stay competitive with other cities, because that's where we get our pool of employees. And when you weigh working at another city or working at West Branch, those benefits coupled with the pay are what people look at, as well as where they want to work. So it's not like they just go, oh, I want to work in West Branch so bad that I'll take worse benefits and less pay than what I'll take going to Tipton, Walcott, Wilton, West Liberty, because all of those cities, I can speak from Public Works side, pay what we pay or better and have at least as good of benefits as what we have.
Okay.
There's not a single option on here that says that they're not going to earn 96 hours of sick pay. And actually, Tom almost encourages you to use your sick pay, because if you know you're going to lose it at the end of the year, then it almost encourages you to call in sick. I mean,
That's why I put down the disciplinary thing.
So what was the push on the short-term disability? Why are we pushing that?
There are other protections for short-term and long-term disability. If I'm here for 3 years and I don't use any 6 days, and I accrue we'll just say 100, so I have 300 hours. So 300 hours gives me however many work weeks, not a whole lot. And say I fracture a femur, not at work. I burn through my 300 hours, and then I don't show up to work. And I burn through my vacation, I don't show up to work.
So you're saying a bank is
Matt can call me and say, hey, you're fired. You're not here. You don't have sick time.
Desirable then?
You don't have sick time, you don't have vacation time, you didn't show up to work, you no longer have a job. Short-term and long-term disability protect you from
time out. That's not true. Because you could do FMLA at the end of your sick leave.
Yeah,
And
you
allows
go,
you
but that's
another 6
that's unpaid. I mean, you
Yeah,
can do
that's
it,
unpaid.
but
That
it's all
doesn't help
unpaid.
you.
So you can, yes, you're correct. So maybe I'm not fired, but I'm not making any money. So at least long-term disability, you're getting 60% of that salary. That is the push for short-term and long-term disability away from just accruing time, because you will eventually run out of time if you get hurt significantly worse than the time you have in the bank. That is what this protects you from.
You can't protect everybody from every instance, though. You can't.
So what I've noticed when I was reading through that is most of the other communities, some of the bigger ones have a little better benefits, but we got to remember we're small community guys. You know, they offered it, but they didn't pay for it. It was offered. If you want it, if it's important for you, Nick, to have long and short-term disability, then you can pay the $140 a year that it's going to take to have that. You know, and then somebody like Matt or Nick, where it wasn't that important for them to have that, they don't have to do it. I mean,
We do both. So that's what that was, is you get both,
but
but you pay for it.
again, to give them short-term, long-term disability, let them bank 560 hours of sick leave and give them 12 days every year is, I mean, that's,
Well, just cap it. Just cap the amount of sick time that people can have. Whatever you have now, you cap and then say, all right, you get 3 years. You can only have 288, 3 times what, 96? That's the maximum you can have. And if you're over that now, you don't get any more.
Do I dare ask how much vacation you get a year?
I was gonna ask that same question.
How's
It's
that-
in the
How's
handbook.
that figured?
I get.
No, not you personally.
Well, I
How-
get
how
less
is that
than,
figured?
it's 1 to 5 years. You get one rate, 5 to 10, you get more vacation than over.
So what is it, please?
I don't have it memorized.
I do payroll.
Yes.
She's trying to answer, yeah.
and you like your vacations, so
Yeah,
you,
and I like my
you
vacation.
got her all figured out.
I got it all
don't you?
figured out. So an employee from 1 to 5 years, you get 4 hours per pay period. So that's 13 days a year. After you've been here 5 years, you get 4.92 hours, which equals 3 weeks a year. After you've been here 10 years, it then goes to 4 weeks. So it's like 7.79, I think is the number of hours per paycheck or per pay period. We get paid every 2 weeks, so 26 times a year. So the
Okay.
max vacation a person can get after they've been here 10 years. You see the time, I'm losing track.
4 weeks.
Is 4 weeks.
Okay, so
2, 3, 4.
so basically what you're telling me,
Typical.
a new
It's fairly
employee,
standard.
1 to 5 years, will accrue 13 days of vacation
If they don't take any time.
if you don't take any time for that first,
4 hours.
for that first year.
Yeah.
For that first year, correct?
First 5 years.
But there is a limit of 240
For the
hours.
first year,
Jody,
the first year you get 13 hours
13 days.
up to 5 years if you don't take any.
no.
We're
that's
giving
not
them
correct, Jody.
another
That's where
13
she was.
hours or 13 days of sick time. So that's 26 hours a
Don't
year,
forget the
a
federal-
day,
Don't forget the federal holiday.
26 days a year
Plus holidays.
Plus holiday.
that you're not at work,
Plus
that
holiday.
you're being paid for,
Plus holiday.
Plus holidays. So
plus holidays.
Leslie,
Jody,
I want to work for the city.
What
Go
I-
ahead.
what
I'm
I
gonna
wanted-
apply.
What I wanted to say was, so I worked for an insurance broker for years, and we had very rich benefits.
Mhm.
So 13, when we got 10 sick days a year, and we could use when I first started many years ago, we could use them for the employee only. It was for in the employee only. So when my kids were little and sick, I took vacation when they were sick because I couldn't use my sick time for my children, or it was only for myself. Then as the years progressed, you could use those same 10 days. And I worked here for almost 24 years. It never changed. We had 10 sick days every single year, but I had short-term and long-term disability for me. So when I was pregnant, if I'd only been in fact, if we use our current system and I got pregnant, I started and in 6 months I got pregnant, I wouldn't have enough time to stay home with my baby because I'd only could earn up to 13 days. So that was another reason for pushing for short and long-term disability is for, what if you hire a 25-year-old city clerk and she gets pregnant? She's not going to be able to afford. She's going to be like Nick said, she's going to use her 5 days of sick leave, all she's accrued, and then she has to go unpaid for the next 5 or 6 weeks. So then you have a person, maybe they get catastrophically ill. If that person just started in 2 months, they pretty much are going to lose their job because they haven't earned any sick time. So the whole idea of the short-term and long-term disability was to protect the employee. Do we need sick leave to maybe help increase that little buffer, which again, I work for a rich company. So I got paid 100% of my salary for 6 weeks while I was on short-term disability. This is only paying 60%. So there's that 40% gap. So that's where they were discussing, they don't want to lose anything. We need a little bit of extra cushion to make that person whole for that first 6 weeks. Then you got to long-term disability, And this plan that they're offering is again 60%, pays 60%, but it's continuous. You go from short-term to long-term. You know, do you want to keep making that employee whole by 40 at, you know, having a little bit more sick leave? Most plans don't have that. My plan, I had an option to buy up an additional 20% of my salary. Again, I never needed it, but it was there. It's insurance. It's an extra insurance policy to protect me and my family because it gives me income protection.
But that's 5 weeks a year, 5 weeks, 25 days that you're not at work a year.
Plus federal holidays.
That includes that.
Plus whatever short-term, long-term disability you take.
Is that more than other people get?
Plus 13 days of vacation.
And
Well, at the university,
And I think going back to the part where, you know, people are using it for their kids, you know, in our employee handbook, it does allow you to use your sick time for that. So the bigger banks are not just for the employee. That maybe that's a consideration. Maybe it's, you know, maybe they can't use it. Again, that's how I had to do it years ago.
Well, what if,
Okay,
What
we gotta
if-
come up with something here.
what if we kept the current sick leave as is, capped it at 560, do the payout at retirement, and then offer short-term and long-term at the employee expense?
well, the council wanted this. It's not
Well, we didn't know it was gonna be this expensive, Gordon.
this expensive, $7,500.
This is a self-paid insurance program by the citizens of West Branch. This isn't a benefit, it's an insurance program. It's not a
You're talking
benefit.
about the sick time?
What's that?
Are you talking about the sick time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
like
that's
term
something
life
going on.
insurance. When you quit paying for it, you don't have it anymore. It's not whole life.
Well, I guess the council decided on the sick pay a long time ago. Then the council wanted short-term and long-term disability.
Well, you can't have everything.
Well, now you're saying this is for the employees. Well,
You
why
can't
did-
have everything, Gordon.
I didn't ask for it, Tom. The council wanted
I'm just
short-term.
trying to explain that you can't have everything.
Okay, Tom, you brought up a proposal there. I
So-
like the way you're going.
Well, I
Go
want
ahead.
to say something to Gordon. Gordon, I don't specifically say, not one single person up here said, we think the employees should have long-term and short-term disability. This was something the employees brought to us that they said they wanted, and the councilman agreed enough to put it on.
Yeah,
Nobody
that's-
said, I think
I-
they need short-term and long-term disability.
Maybe-
And the fact that we did decide that maybe that was a goal, from the very get-go, I said that
It was proposed as a goal, and we adopted it.
that once we saw how much it was going to cost and we studied at what there was in the sick leave, that it was too redundant and that something, if we were going to do this, then we had to cut back on one side, all right?
Well, can we talk about the financing of it? This is,
What, the current sick leave or?
no, I'm talking about the short-term, long-term disability. We had a reduction in medical insurance last year that was going to save $10,000 over the previous year's premium. That paid for this whole year's insurance program, short-term, long-term, accidental death, life insurance. That is not costing the taxpayers of this community anything if you pay that premium for 1 year. Then there is there is money in the benefit program that will pay for it for a number of years after that. That does not have to be levied.
Well, except that the health insurance goes up and down and up and down and up and down.
We got lucky
So-
this year, we got lucky last couple of years.
We can't sit there and say, well, we're saving enough money because we don't know what next year brings. And once you offer that kind of a benefit to employee, the last thing you want to do is the very next year have to take it away.
I agree. That's why I wasn't even in favor of offering it in the first place. But I was told we need to do it. So I went out and got some quotes. Now you're saying it's too expensive.
No, we're not saying that's expensive. What
We're saying the
saying
whole
is,
package is expensive,
Yeah.
not just
There
that,
you
the
go.
whole package.
Well, I don't think
Something has to
employer-
give.
I think the employees are not getting rich working for the city. And I think the council feels like the employees are the enemy of the city.
Let's get back on, let's get
Well,
back on
let's
point.
talk about what's,
No,
you're talking about the way you treat the employees. This,
no, we're not talking about that.
you're not.
Tom brought up a proposal. Let's explore that. We're gonna treat you guys fine. So just 560, you back on the 560 hours, a cap?
Cap at 560.
I'll get to you, Nick, pretty minute, in a minute. Cap at 560 still, or
That's
keep that the
70 days.
same?
70 days.
Stay with me.
Um,
And then offer the long-term, short-term disability, and the employee pays for it.
And, okay, stop right there. So how much would that, if that proposal, how much would that cost the employee to do that?
About $500 a year. And that was kind of in lieu of
$1 an hour for the third, 16th time.
50 cents.
Would
an
that
hour,
proposal
so
still be valid if it were offered to employees as a
You
employee?
can't offer it to the employees with the option of them deciding whether or not they want to do it, because the number of employees who would take it might be less than the minimum required.
Okay, that's my next question is, I mean, if you had half the employees say, oh, we don't want to do that, can you even do that short-term, long-term?
I
Because
don't know, Jerry. I don't know what the requirement
there
is.
probably is a limit on,
Yeah,
you gotta have
that's
so many
why
employees do it before you're gonna get a benefit.
yeah, I told the insurance companies that this was employer paid, 100% of the full-time employees would receive it.
Nick Schmidt.
So I apologize if I'm recommending or recalling this wrong. I'm not sure that the existing staff did want this. This may be a carryover from prior administration, like just because it was on the goal setting year after year from prior administration.
You might be right.
I know he's right.
Matt Buckler had it on his agenda.
Okay.
Just to, I mean, I know I'm on the same sort of factory plan and as everybody else. And just going strictly based off, not myself, I mean, I'm not a public sector employee. So just strictly going off the list of all the cities that you look, everybody seems, if they don't have short-term and long-term disability, they have the big pools. And I mean, this is all the information that Redmond gathered. So this is strictly just unbiased, whatever mine is mine, whatever. And if you look at the cities that do have the short-term, long-term disability, they do have like a shorter 560, but there's no payout. And there's short-term and long-term, but there's no payout, and they have the lower maximums. So that's probably where those cities came in. Yeah, because if you look at the ones that don't have any, you're talking like 960 hours, you're talking 1,000 hours, you're getting the ones for like no short-term, long-term, you're talking like 1,000 hours plus, which makes sense for not having that capability. And then you look at, like I said, you look at the other ones, 480, there's one with 480 that they can have short-term. There's one with, I remember the other one. Yeah, there's quite a few on here that have smaller ones. But they do no payouts, not even at retirement. It's just none. So that's where they're recurring their costs there. So the employee is still getting a decent sick package. And like Matt said, if we look at all the surrounding cities around us, we're going to have to, regardless if we like it, because we don't get it or the regular private industry doesn't get it, we have to be competitive to hire people. Because otherwise we're going to have a couple people retire or potentially even somebody leave. Are we really going to walk out there and say, hey, we don't offer anything competitive for towns remotely close to our area, and they might have a couple openings? I'm probably not going to pick West Branch. So there's got to be a little bit of give and take. So the other towns get rid of the big, long, huge buckets of money and $10,000 payouts at retirement, so people can have their 560 hours while they're actively working. So it's kind of I think it's a kind of right in the middle of the road.
So I'm kind of hearing.
So it's not everything?
The pool is beneficial. The pool is desirable. An employee build out.
And I do see a lot of the, like the smaller ones. Maybe it's just a matter of talking to somebody, but it looks like the smaller ones that are I-size that do employee ones do Aflac. So I don't know if that's
Yeah, I
different.
saw a lot of Aflac here.
And I just want to say that.
I know Aflac's different than a short-term and long-term. It's something else.
It's injury.
Yeah.
Injury, and then you submit the bills and they pay a portion of it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what it looks like. A lot of towns are committee that offered a sort of short-term, long-term
It
disability
provides
went
a group
Aflac.
rate for these employees. They get a better rate than they could get on their own.
So I mean, maybe, that's what, and that's just going by this sheet for the small towns that do a kind of a half pool and want to offer some sort of disability are doing the Aflac way. So it's kind of a little bit of a best of both worlds.
And just to clarify, there was a couple of examples because we like to pick DeWitt and Tipton and North Liberty, but everyone else is between the 2,100 to 2,500 pounds. So even though maybe not familiar with the town, they're actually population size based on the last census data our size.
Don't go by Tiffin's last census, and
Yeah. Or North
they're
Liberty.
3 times bigger than they were the last
Yeah,
one.
North
So we're one of the lowest hourlies of all of these, pretty much. 560.
Yes, like if you look at Bellevue's, they got 960 hours, no payout, Aflac for short and long term, and it's 100% employee
I kind of like
Kind of a
the
best of
idea of doing a banking of a pool into a separate pool, capping the employee hours and
I
then
have,
banking the extra into a pool.
I have heard where one employee can give their sick time to another.
Yeah, there's some of that in here.
Yeah, there are
I don't know
transfers.
why they couldn't do that. I don't know how that
Mixed
pool would
bag
get
sounds
abused
like
or would it get used properly or.
Well, I think that the only way it can be used is you gotta have a doctor's.
And you have to
You have
use
to have
all yours first
You have to
before
use
you.
yours first,
Yeah.
and then you can go to the pool. Gotta have to have a doctor's, you're gonna have to go see the doctor. It's not something you can just.
For another couple hundred hours or so.
I mean, it's a good idea.
I understand
but
that
you can cripple.
Group pool.
That Matt and Nick are looking at,
Well, that gets
being able to use their sick time for their kids, which they couldn't use for their own. I don't know how.
Group pool, I mean, it seems easier to have an individual build up.
A group would kind of concern me. You could cripple your
Two or
sick,
three.
you could cripple your sick time for a city real quick with a group pool.
A couple people can cripple everybody.
One person gets
Right.
cancer and out for a year, you just take out a whole, or
Yeah.
2 years, you
That's
just
the way I
cripple the
see
whole
it.
employee
That's the
pool.
way I see it.
Not, not to be rude, but I mean, that's.
But
trying to be rude to
when-
anybody
But you
who's
got
sick,
15
but-
when the short
people
term, long
earning-
term.
Yeah, I know, but it's just
When the short term, long term take that over.
only if you do it.
If you cap the hours, you offer the short term, long term, and you have the pool, I guess you wouldn't need. Would you use it for the extra 40%? You get paid out 60, would you use the pool for the 40%?
I don't think you'd have to, Jerry. I think if we capped it at, even at 288, at 3 years, I thought that would be maybe enough to cover this difference between the 60% and whatever it takes to make a person.
Goodell, you still want to say something? Matt, did I lose you?
Not to muddy anything, or I just wanted to throw out there that some other communities, it's not the same thing. It's not their sick time, whatever, but they pay for their insurance entirely, or it costs them $10 a month. So, I mean, when you guys are looking at it, I know it looks, I won't ever say that the benefits from the city of West Branch are not really good, because they are. They're amazing. Like I said, it's why I came there. But there are other towns that, even counties. Johnson County, you pay $10 a month for insurance that's just as good as ours. Walcott, they pay entirely the health insurance of the employees. There's other towns. I think Mount Vernon covers a huge amount of it. It's really cheap. I'm just throwing that out there so you understand. There are other things that weigh into all of it too. It's not just the sick time but
Okay.
anyway, I just want to throw that out so you are aware of that there are other communities that do offer that. When the sick time or when the long-term and short-term was brought up, we thought it was an additional benefit. That's what Public Works, that's what we thought. We thought it was something that we were going to get extra on top of it. That's why we're all for it. Right now, yeah, we could take it or leave it. So that's all I
I don't
was.
see us coming to a conclusion on this tonight, just because we have to pass the disability.
I would
That's
say
the only
that-
reason we're pushing this tonight.
That's the critical thing.
I can't see
But
this.
it's not that critical.
Why
don't
can't
have
that
that
go
many
another
people.
It was
month?
critical.
Till
We
July
brought
1.
this to us
So
2
July
months
2nd,
ago.
we can't get a second bid.
Why can't,
Well, we might get higher rates.
Well, it was thought to be pretty fast paced last meeting, but in reality, we only have 2 employees that are going to be affected. So our vulnerability to paying out those employees is not.
we're not changing that anyway.
And you're saying you're not going to change it, so there really is not a pressing matter to have this passed.
The whole rush on this was because of the disability insurance.
Well, I
Needed to be
guess-
passed tonight.
But since
Does it have to be?
That's just for July 1 effective date. If you decide to push it off until September or.
Yeah,
we
tell
have to
them
get
we're-
ano-
we're-
We have to get another quote. And
Well,
yeah,
it
the
could go
rates
up.
could
He
go
could
higher,
re-quote
the
it.
rates could go lower.
I,
But
The danger is we go to
significantly-
somebody else if he says, nope, that's not good for another 60, 90 days.
well,
No,
Well, we're
it's
gonna
not
shop
that the-
around.
The agent doesn't have the ability. He goes to his insurance companies and they say when the quotes.
I'm
Then
missing
he
the
needs
point
to
that I was
understand,
trying
I
to
think he
make
needs
up.
to understand our situation, that we're not gonna rush it. And it's just gonna have to, I
Yeah,
just don't wanna rush this through tonight.
The agent doesn't set the prices. So you can tell
We're
them
not
what you
gonna
want.
come up with a happy answer tonight. I tell you that right
I guess
now.
Roger was kind of missing my point. I think unless you're saying we don't want to do short-term, long-term disability, I think I'm hearing we do want to do it, but we don't want to have the sick leave banks the way they are. So the sick leave banks don't have to be answered tonight because really we're only talking about 2 employees.
I
And
see.
we clarified
Right.
that we're not going to mess with those 2 employees' payouts. So the issue really is not as urgent as we thought.
But we're not gonna mess with anyone.
Well, in timeout, that's not, I think
That
the
wasn't
way you're
understood.
communicating is wrong
Okay.
because
Walk
if
me
we
through
approve
this. I
it
don't
now,
know.
if we approve it now, then it's a done deal.
Not the sick leave. I'm not
No.
talking about the sick leave.
And
No,
we're
it's
paying
the
for
long
it.
and short-term disability. And now we're listening to, hey, some of our employees say if we're gonna mess with the way we do the sick leave in lieu of long-term and short-term disability, they'd rather not have the long-term and short-term disability and keep the vacation the way it is.
I agree with that.
I agree that that's what they're saying, but I'll be honest, after what's happened in our employee ranks in the last year, I think that might be short-sighted because people can take extended periods of time off and not having short-term and long-term disability can cause extreme hardship.
Well, that's their option. I mean,
Well, it's,
they're making the choice for themselves.
well, they are.
I'm
accustomed
not
to-
making the choice for them.
Go ahead.
How about if we table both of these for tonight? And do a survey of the employees and find out who
would change their sick
who-
leave?
Well, who, no. If we kept the sick leave the same with some tweaking, who would pay for the short-term and long-term disability and get a number?
As a voluntary payment.
I just don't feel like rushing through it right now, tonight. We're not gonna come with a happy solution, I tell you that.
No, he's saying table it.
No,
but
he's saying.
ask-
Table it.
You're
Fine.
saying
ask
just do
the
it.
employees.
Do it. Rip the Band-Aid off. At the end of the day, ain't everybody gonna be happy anyway.
Yeah, you're right. You're not gonna make every employee happy, no matter what you do.
What's your proposal? again?
But you need to do.
Just table both of
majority
these?
rule.
Table both of them go out and survey the employees, say, if we offered you short-term, long-term disability, would you paying 100%, would you take it?
Are you making a motion to do that, to table it?
Well, the only,
Yeah.
Okay, I second it.
well, the only thing there is, I mean, I guess being the person on here that is the youngest, the issue you run into is me sitting here, I'm gonna say I'd want short-term and long-term disability. But if there's not enough people that say yes, that want to pay for it, I don't have, if I'm an employee, like one of our younger employees, I don't have the 900 and, or the 560 or the 600 or the whatever. There's employees that have been here a really long time that all have that. So to them, yeah, I don't want that. That's not good for me. I got 560 hours I can use. For a younger employee coming in and want to work here, that's awful. I mean, that's not good. So we're sitting here saying, oh, I love having that. I love having all this 560 days that I can use for all this stuff. But then it takes a long time to get. So there's going to be last time I checked, I don't think the employee population of West Branch employees is extremely young. So there's going to be a little bit of bias in asking employees what they want. And I'm not even talking just because I am young. It's a barrier of entry for hiring as well. Because we're going to have to replace all these people in the next, and we got to replace 2 even the next few months. And we got some other guys I know that are older as well. So I mean, that's the only reason. I understand that we should ask the employees as well, but I mean, we should take, I mean, maybe some of the younger employees will say, no, I like this and my point's moot. But I mean, it's just, I want to let that sit.
Well, the other point to that is what we were talking about a little bit ago. If it came back to say half of the employees say they don't want it, is that enough employees to actually have it? That's the question. That's the other question.
Yeah, what if it's 50-50?
Yeah. What if it takes 15 employees or 10 employees to make it actually happen, and you only have 6 that want it? Then those 6 are not going to get it.
So what you can do is find out from our agent, first of all, will they offer to an individual employee at a decent rate? If we had 10 employees take us up on it, take up on short-term, long-term, and life insurance. Life insurance is no brainer. But
Anybody can pick up Apple.
yeah.
Aflac would be the only way.
Yeah, I think
Individual
Aflac
short-term,
is the only
long-term
way.
is about
I don't know if our
$1 billion,
current
terribly
insurance
Terribly
proposal
expensive. That's why
could allow that.
we get it.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
We need to ask.
So let's find out.
I'll find out.
Let's find that out for next time. And I guess we need to know, I know you've talked to the employees. I don't know if you talked to all of them, but probably 2 or 3 directors.
Well, if what we have now, if people like that, the shortcoming is growing families. Families that are going to have children, they're the ones that are open.
They're the vulnerable ones.
Yes. If there was some
Yes,
way that we
but-
could, I don't know, fill the gap without changing, I don't know how to do that, but
5 to 10 years, you got 3 weeks of sick leave available, and you can use it for a sick child or spouse. I
And you have
believe.
vacation time that's occurred.
Yeah.
And you got vacation time if you have to.
well, I
That's
think we
not that terrible.
had a new employee that's going to be having a baby that's only been here.
No, that's the example. You have a new employee, she's been here 2 months, she gets pregnant. 9 months later, she has a baby, so she's been with the company for a year.
Only has 2 weeks
For a year.
of leave.
She's got 13 days of sick leave, and that's if she hasn't taken any while she was pregnant. And then she has 13 days of vacation. She has 26 days off to have her baby.
Which she's not going to have that much because she's going to have doctor's appointments. She's going to take sick leave to get
Yeah,
it.
half of those will disappear before.
So that's where you limit your pool on, you have a young person wanting to come and work for the city, they probably don't because there's no benefits.
We could come up with a pregnancy sentence here in the.
Well, yeah, but men get the same rights as women now.
Yeah, it'd be father too.
So, yeah,
Paternal or maternal.
right.
So those are the ones that, you're just trying to look forward, not just you look at your existing employee pool. You want to look in the future. who are you gonna replace these people with? And it's probably gonna be younger people.
And that's where, I mean, short-term and long-term disability, when it comes in there is, I mean, yeah, it's only 60% at the end of the day, but it's better than FMLA. I mean, at the end of the day.
I think Matt wanted to get one more.
Okay, Matt.
Sorry, I don't want to jeopardize all the time, but
Yeah, you're doing it. Go ahead.
If we're going to stick with big pools, would you consider making sick time transferable, which would then make it to where someone who's been there for 10, 15 years could give sick time to a new employee that came on?
Yeah.
My wife worked at Berkeley, and they did that all the time.
That'd be easy.
I mean, that's
Give up 2 or 3 days to a underemployee.
I mean, I have a good amount of sick time, and I would have no issue with giving 50 or 100 hours to somebody if that was what it came down to. It's really not that big a deal. But I mean, my wife worked at Mercy, and they had the exact same thing. They could transfer sick time to other people, and by the time everyone gives a week or whatever, someone new would have enough sick time to take off maternity leave. I mean, and I think we're a small enough city to where everybody knows each other, everybody works together. I mean, I'm speaking for a lot of people, but I honestly don't feel like that would be an issue for the majority of people that work there. So
Problem with that is if all you have is sick leave, you don't want to give your sick leave away because you don't know when you're going to need it.
Well, I think at the University of Hospitals, you could transfer vacation to someone to use as sick leave. It's been a long time since I was there, but I believe they didn't, because there were so many people that had lots of sick leave.
So those are 2 things we could add to the employee handbook. Transferability and then maybe a maternity leave.
So we're almost thinking, keeping what we got, leaving the payouts and all that stuff alone.
Well, except the
Increasing-
final payout at retirement. I think
Yeah, I
We-
agree.
I
I
think-
think that needs to be a cap.
there needs to be a cap on that final payout.
Actually, I think it needs to be done away with.
Yeah, or
And,
eliminated.
and you know, what's in the works now is in the works,
Yeah.
but anybody that's hired after
I think we all agree to that.
Yeah, so
tomorrow
most-
afternoon,
Looks like most cities.
So they could be making $30 or $40, well, say $35 an hour. By the time they retire, take that times 25%.
Speaking from
A cap
personal,
is not unreasonable.
speaking from personal
rate.
experience, we had an employee that retired from the city of West Branch and walked out with so much money, the employees didn't get a raise that
Yeah, it looks like most towns
That was a good payout.
got no payout at all.
year.
Well, in a year, you're gonna pay out 16,000 to 2 people. That's whole. So,
Okay, let's,
pretty good.
You got a motion to table.
yeah,
Dean,
we're gonna entertain,
Second.
we're gonna vote on the motion to table. We're gonna move on. So in the meantime, Redmond and Gordon, we got some work to do.
so hold on a second. You might want to, you need to probably say table 899. There's like a couple of them that go with it in there.
You can table it.
1906 and 899.
I second that.
You did the first motion.
He did the
no, it was
motion.
Dean Miller.
Oh, yeah,
You did the first motion?
Yeah.
Okay. So your motion is to table resolution 1906 and resolution 1899. You second that?
I second.
You second that. We'll bring it up another day. Any other discussion? Okay,
Are
let's
we
go.
going to actually ask the employees, not just managers?
Yeah, you need to talk to every one of them.
Okay,
Every
all right,
one of them.
okay.
Levi. What?
Part-time doesn't count. Part-time.
Yeah,
Ah,
part-time.
Whatever. Okay, talk to Nevin.
Probably be beneficial to explain what, not saying that they don't know, but as you talk to them, it'd probably be helpful to have an explanation of what short-term and long-term disability is.
Yeah.
It's really easy to say no if you don't know what it is.
Right. Yep. Okay.
Just prefacing that.
Just one question, just to help me clarify where to work. So I get the paternity, bank transfer, less payouts. Is short-term disability and long-term disabilities still on the table?
We want to know if the employees would be willing to pay for it themselves.
Just, okay, so
If
we want,
our carrier would accept an employee. Is that right?
I think you need to find out.
Find that out first.
Find out the group plan, how minimal the group plan
Right.
could be.
Could it be a group of 7 or does it have to be a group of 15?
Because if they're willing to pay for it, I would have no problem, besides maybe the massive payouts, leaving it the way it is. And
Right. Yep.
They can have their short-term and
Sure
long-term
would
disability
simplify
as long
things.
as they're. But if we're not, I mean, because otherwise it's their benefit, they're paying for it, we're not, then it's a different story. I don't think we can take it away from them if they're willing to do it.
okay, but city pay, we're not leaning that way.
Not unless the sick time stuff changes, but
Okay,
sounds of it,
right,
Correct.
which didn't seem very popular.
right.
Okay, let's vote on that tabling motion, please.
Councilperson Dean.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Stulman.
Yes.
Goodweiler.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna move on. Wapsie Creek widening. I'd like to get a little report. I guess Dave Scheckinger, you still hanging around? And then if there's things we need to talk about, we have a closed session on Wednesday. We could put it on the agenda to talk more specifically on the real estate dealings if we have to on a closed session on Wednesday. Is that understandable? Dave, you on?
I'm still here.
Gosh, sorry you had to sit through that. Brian Belk's hanging around too, I see.
Yeah. All right, I'll go through a quick update, just kind of a timeline of how things have developed. Back in October of last year, I met with Kim and Kay Gaskill and gave them a general overview of this project, why it was necessary, went through the USGS report with them to help explain what that was about. And their main concern, of course, is the billboards, and they wanted to see if there was anything we could do as part of this project to possibly increase the level of protection or reduce flood levels around the billboards. So in November, we started working through some modeling scenarios using the USGS model as the base to see what we could do if we were to extend our widening downstream a little bit as a possible trade-off in exchange for using the upstream property. Looked at a few other options as well, including widening at the confluence of the two streams, the Hoover Creek and the Wapsianonock, and that's in the area of that old sale barn. We showed that model to Gaskills just around Thanksgiving time, and then again in December we met with 3 of the 4 members of the family. Amy was not able to attend, and went through that in detail, explaining the options that we had modeled. In December, they asked that we schedule another meeting after the holidays to include Amy so she could sit in on it as well. In February, after the holidays, we reached out to them to try to get that scheduled, and we had it scheduled for March. And of course, we ran into this whole COVID situation, and a couple of their family members are high risk, so they wanted to postpone it. So March 11th, we were originally scheduled to meet. We scheduled for April 16th. That got pushed back to May 14th, and now we're back to June 18th. So just waiting for this to blow over so that they are comfortable getting together. We can go through the modeling scenarios. In the interim, on March 24th, I did obtain permission from Gaskills to survey their property so that we had detailed information to use to design the improvements. Also, in April, we provided some additional information to them in the form of reports and modeling alternative results, and have been talking with them off and on by phone and by email to try to convey additional information. We've been using the topo survey that we picked up to do some additional modeling, and we have the model updated with some information as far as scenarios that we had somewhat vetted out with them. I need to meet with them to go over those to get permission to continue or see if there's anything they want to do as far as those scenarios are concerned that they would want us to have completed in order for them to continue on with discussions. So far they're interested. They've been participating. It's just been a little bit slow because of the COVID situation and trying to get together to explain the information. But we've made pretty good progress and have the model in a pretty good position to demonstrate what we need to do. And once we get their blessing, we can continue to construction drawings to try to get this moving forward and start on permitting. So if all goes well, we've got a good plan. If things come to a standstill, I think it's one of those situations we have to come back and discuss with council as far as how much interest there is in pushing this through, given that they're not willing to provide easement. So those are the two scenarios we're moving towards.
Okay, are we looking, we're looking just for a construction easement, correct?
We are looking for a construction easement. We have a number of other issues out there that are peripheral to this that we want to maintain separation on. We want to make sure that we don't create issues and lose the opportunity to get this completed. So you are correct. We're just looking for a construction easement. It may be of benefit for the city to have control over that, but at the very minimum, we'd want an easement.
Is there enough dirt there to protect their signs? If we have to, we need to.
It depends on how willing we are to go further to the east with channel excavation and offset anything that we would do by placing dirt around the signs.
What do you think? That's what I mean. You build it up,
Just
but
build
you
up.
can't build a berm. that-
Right.
The water that gets in there has to get out.
Build it up 5 feet.
So most of that area that you're talking about around the signs is active floodway, and if we were to fill that, we need to have some compensating flow area on the opposite side, which is what I'm saying. It pushes that channel quite a ways to the east. We get into a lot of cost associated with that and remapping.
And that's a lot farther down the stream than we want to go, right?
Not much further, and there are some minor benefits. We tend to run out of benefit because of the influence of the box culvert under the interstate as we get just slightly downstream of the signs.
At some point that factors in the speed.
Right.
Can't change that one. Okay, Dave. That's, guess what we were looking at here. I may put it on the agenda for Wednesday night's meeting, just a real brief discussion on a couple of our options. It's a Wednesday night's a closed session meeting with it's Redmond's review night. So at that time we could talk about a couple other options or one other option.
Dave, you still there?
Yes.
Well, I got this, kind of has something to do with this, but not really. You just said something that bothered me a little bit. So the I-80 right now, there's a bridge there, and where the water main and stuff goes. And they want to eliminate that and put a little box culvert in there that we can use as a trail, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so how come they can do things to mess up the floodway and not compensate for it? But we got to jump through all these hoops and stuff when we want to just put some dirt around a sign.
So when you look at the area that is underneath the interstate where that bridge is, that's not part of the mapped floodway. So they can close that with a box culvert and not have to go through that. Now, when you look at the box culverts that are under the interstate on the creek, they had to go through analysis to demonstrate that they were not going to increase the flood elevation when they lengthened those, and they did do that. They provided a report on that.
Okay. Any other questions for Dave?
I have one for Dave. This comes from a previous conversation with you. With your gut feeling with talking with the Gaskells, how do you actually think this is going to go?
They've continued discussions on this, Jerry, and they've been interested. They're looking for something that would benefit both parties. And I think we've got something that does that. Whether or not it's adequate to convince them that it's worth pursuing, I don't know.
I guess where I'm going with this is, it seems like you're having to spend a lot of extra time and a lot of extra money to please them. When at the very end, they may say, we don't want to deal with you. We're going to spend all that money and then going to have to do something else to make this happen. That's is one of my fears.
Yeah, so far the modeling that we've been doing in the topo work and whatnot is necessary for the project regardless. The additional topo to get downstream is something we would want to do for adequate tie-in. And if there is benefit in extending downstream, I think that's worth looking into. So I don't know that we spent any money that is excessive to this point. And then as far as the meetings, we've been doing those after 5, and I'm just doing that to try to push the project along. You're not seeing any invoice for that. So I'm trying not to incur costs on things that aren't of benefit to the city. At the same time, trying to move this along. So hopefully that helps you.
Appreciate that too.
So June 17th, you said is a date?
Let's see here. June 18th is the next meeting.
All right. We will await, I'll call you on the 19th.
Okay, yeah, and I'll let you know if they push that back again. As I mentioned, they are somewhat high risk and don't want to be exposed, so.
And I'll let you know what we talk about on Wednesday also.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
So to kind of go further on what Colton said, so when they widen the interstate, are they going to make the creek passage wider also?
They are not going to make the culverts on the creek wider. They're going to extend them, but they're going to modify the end treatments so that they're tapered, and that lengthening is offset by the end treatment. There's a entrance and exit coefficient in the model that has hydraulic impacts, and the minor lengthening is offset by the end treatments they're proposing. And that's put together in a study that they provided for review in response.
Culverts are those?
Those are the DOT's culverts.
Do they claim those out?
They do on occasion.
They did just a couple of years ago, I think. Okay. Anything else for Dave? All right, thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
One more item, Brian, then we're going to get to you, Brian Bell. Item 6, Hoover Days. Cancel or no cancel? We've already canceled. We're already going to cancel the bouncy houses and stuff. We're already going to cancel
Parks already canceled.
the street.
Government's already canceled all their stuff.
There'll be no street entertainment. I guess the only questions then are the parade, which we could decide 20 days before. I think we shouldn't do the parade because it's 2,000 people, kids crowding around and fighting for candy. My only thoughts is I wish we could get something house so the fire department could maybe serve a meal. We could distance people out. People could take a meal with them. They could have a little fundraiser, maybe sell some, I don't know, I want to say sell some beer, but maybe we could have a band while people are waiting. We could have a band at the Casey's site while people are waiting to get their food, take it home, and then we could watch the fireworks. Those are my only thoughts. If that can't happen, I don't know what we're gonna do.
We've already budgeted for the fireworks for this year, or only half of it.
The fireworks would occur next fiscal year. we have a 5,000 left to make a down payment with if we want to, and then we pay the other 20,000 next year.
Next fiscal year.
Next fiscal year, yes.
Anybody have any thoughts?
I say cancel the whole thing.
I'm thinking the fireworks is a great end to the whole festivities. And one of the reasons why we have a crowd of people that come to town is because at the end of the day, they know they're gonna have fireworks. If we don't have all the activities going before the fireworks, we're not gonna have the people come to town to enjoy the fireworks. So it's just gonna be the community. It's not gonna be those coming to our community to help.
Yeah, you're right. But my
revenue
thoughts
to our
were it
business.
would just be for the community. You know, a little, thanks for putting up with the coronavirus so bad, and here's some fireworks to make you feel better.
So Jerry, here's the devil's advocate on that is, and I can't even say this, but by having the fireworks, if there's nothing else in town, well, now they're forced to go into their shops and eat at the restaurants and do the other things. Maybe that's the little kick in the shorts that our business is going to need to kind of help what they've been going through.
You're thinking that people will still come to town.
They'll come to town.
Come into town,
Just for
be a
the
meal, get a meal, pick it up, take it to your picnic and your garage, and watch the
Or
fireworks.
by then
Businesses
they'll
are
be
open.
eating, they'll be open, they
You're
go
right.
to the bar afterwards. I mean,
And then realistically, all of that would be offset by not spending all the rest of how much we spend on everything else.
Right. Yeah, it would save a little money.
And
So
if-
we're still saving money,
Save a
but
lot.
not all of it. We're saving money, and then
50
like
grand.
Roger said, at the end of the day, we do have some sort of celebratory something, at least in a bleak year. I mean,
Yeah, I guess that's my thought.
not that I guess. I mean, it's
And then at least by doing the fireworks, if the fire department decides on July 1st that they want to do something, we've given them another avenue to get people to come to town. Where if we decide we're not going to do the fireworks, I'm not going to say that their fundraiser is going to fail or anything like that, but obviously we've handicapped them a little bit by not doing fireworks.
I agree.
I believe the fire department is leaning towards canceling all.
What health regulations you have to go through to serve? I don't even know. I mean, I haven't talked to Kevin or anybody about it, but
I know the last, the executive committee met and they were
right.
just saying,
Yeah.
they said we could put something together in about a month.
You don't think they can sell burgers or hot dogs and to go?
I mean, at this point,
we're trying to maintain social isolation, I know you people think that this thing's just going to disappear, but our daily cases are between 300 and 400 in the state of Iowa, and it's not going to go away. You look at, I don't want to have fireworks and have a cluster like you saw down at Lake of the Ozarks last weekend. 3 or 4 of those people were COVID positive.
we'd have to shut down everything, but
Well, fireworks would be,
People's homes.
stay at home, watch the fireworks, and you can see them from anywhere, from every house in town.
We're going to
practically.
have it.
That's true.
Still thinking the Park Service will come through, but I think we're gonna go ahead with the.
Somebody had real big eyes
We're
on
gonna
the
go with
screen.
the permit. We're still gonna try, I
And I think the last time we talked, I know that fireworks people were willing to work. I mean, they're going through it everywhere and they're willing to work with it. So, I mean, if we say yes and go with it and somehow we can't find a location.
We'll find one. There's always. a
I'm just saying, if we
cemetery.
can't find a location, I know we've talked to the fireworks people and they've been more than willing to work. So, I mean, they're not going to say no to a down payment. And then let's be honest, we're not going to be the only city in the world that they have a stockpile worth of fireworks that aren't going to shoot off this So,
Roger just said something about the cemetery. To me, that is probably not, that's probably one of the last places we want to shoot off, right next to a bunch of elderly that are gonna hear a bunch of
Yeah.
banging going on every time one of those go off.
The nursing home.
and
That's gonna be right next door to them. And when those shoot off, it's not the bang. When you're close to it, it's that
Well,
actual shot when it shoots.
don't do the percussion, the
well, no, it's actually,
concussion ones.
it's still the launching factor
Yeah, you're right.
on the ground, regardless if you're doing the big boomers or the other ones or not. It's the,
If that's a possibility, I have to see what Cheryl says. I'll talk to her. That'd be a last, I don't know.
if you do the fireworks, you'd have to close or rope off large, like the high school would probably have to be, so you don't get your large congregation. I mean, you'd have to make the steps to make it.
Well, I think people could drive to the high school and sit in their car and watch them. Or to socially sit. in the
I mean, there's
grass.
ways around it.
I can tell you right now, if you have fireworks, nobody's gonna care about the virus. If they wanna congregate together, they're gonna congregate together.
And if you don't have the fireworks, if people want to congregate together, they're going to congregate together.
All right, well,
Then you're gonna make the businesses, if people do come to town, like Colton said, and they do visit our establishments, you're going to make our establishments turn people away because it's only 50% capacity. And
It could be, we don't know what
It
the
could be.
future's gonna be.
Wide open in
yeah,
August. Not agreeing if it should or shouldn't be, but it could be.
well, we'd have to know by the middle of July. At the very latest.
For the fireworks?
Yeah. Maybe middle of first of July.
Well, we're gonna do the
That's-
fireworks.
that's a
month.
We're gonna have
That's
to
only a
make
month,
that,
we got 30
first
days.
Payment before July 1st.
We've got 30 days, 29 days to figure it out.
But don't you suppose those people are
One more
gonna
meeting.
be sitting on a bunch of fireworks that they're not gonna be able to shoot off? And I mean, if they can come in
And
2
they-
weeks and start shooting off fireworks that they've had canceled throughout.
To get
the
paid.
whole- to Get
25,000.
something.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they would.
I think they'll
I
scramble.
know,
was in
I
business
know,
that had it, I'm sure
you know,
they would
the
scramble to
routine
get
has
it.
always been, they want payment early, but if the decision comes 15 days before, we can launch them.
I know the 4th of
You
July.
can get
Some
no
cities
less than
canceled.
$25,000.
They have worked with us in the past, but I think there's some contract language in there that could have some penalties associated.
I'm sure they
I
can.
thought that
It's their business.
they don't have the penalties that they've had in the past.
I'm
They
sure,
have always been a good company to work with.
I'm sure they're gonna wanna launch fireworks that they can launch.
I'm sure they're not after that. they
I
get
think
some-
Corville
I'm
and
sure
Iowa
4th of
City
July
has
is probably
canceled their
canceled
fireworks.
everywhere.
I think the big thing for us is our location. Ideally, it'd be good to have it through the national park, but we have those extra steps we gotta go through. We gotta find a high area, and I agree with Jerry. I don't think next to the care center was gonna be a really popular area. The next spot could maybe be the high school up on the track, but we'd have to get permission from the school. There's a lot of debris that comes down from those, so.
aren't they gonna be doing
Big
construction?
field south of
And
my
they're gonna be
house.
doing construction. They just got the bid, but I don't know how soon they're gonna start. I haven't gotten the building permit yet or anything, but again, that's another unknown. Who knows how quickly they're gonna start, so
The
they may
big,
not want a bunch of people on their property.
the big field south of my house, there's a field across the road from the high school.
There's definitely things, there's definitely avenues to ask.
Yeah.
If we want to. But at the end of the
Okay.
day, it doesn't happen, I just say. it'd be-
We're gonna talk about it again next time probably, or maybe if we can hold off till the first meeting in June, July, I mean,
So
then we'll.
here, the
We'll have
other
to
question
decide.
is, are they gonna have Hooper Ball? I mean, that's a big draw.
Right now, no. But once again, they're gonna, 30 more days. They're gonna,
I'd say.
they can put it all together in
Let's
30
go
days.
Till those decisions
Right
are
now,
made,
no.
because those kind of
Yeah.
really make a difference on, if they don't have Hoover Ball, then really there's no crowd comes to town.
Yeah, no
Well-
Hoover ball, no anything else, I mean, you're gonna be.
Well, I'm not looking to draw a crowd for the fireworks. I don't wanna even advertise it. This is just be for West Branchers. We're not gonna invite, so they may cancel all the Iowa City events that weekend, which is Jazz Fest, or is it Arts Fest? That's canceled. Mount Vernon has something. If those are canceled, I mean, I don't want everybody coming here to watch the fireworks. It's just be for us, just for West Branchers. It's what's going through my mind.
Well,
Until it gets out and then it's not.
I was gonna say, it sounds good until somebody tells somebody, oh yeah, we're having fireworks.
I'll take somebody to watch this meeting and post it on Facebook or Twitter or something.
Well, right now, we're
Tri-county area.
Okay.
So, hey, hold on a second.
Anything else we need to talk about?
Yeah, the discussion item was considering changing, postponing, canceling Hoover Hometown Days. I think a consensus is that we're gonna cancel Hoover Hometown Days.
Correct.
We're still up in the air about fireworks yet.
Yeah.
At this time, maybe we make a decision, maybe we can just push it off till July 1st like everybody else does. But
That's where we're at.
maybe that's something that we can give them so they can release it to the paper or at least put it out there. Hey, you know what? We're not having Hoover Days this year.
Yeah. Did we just decide that then?
I still think it's part of Hoover Ball. If Hoover Ball still has their deal.
I don't want to have the parade though. I think that's your responsibility to have the parade.
After seeing the graduation parade, I agree.
There was a lot of people lining the
Yes,
streets.
there was a lot of people.
So I think the parade's out. Bouncy houses are
I think
out.
it was cool
The downtown
for the
entertainment's out.
seniors, but it really didn't do anything
No
for
food
the
vendors.
COVID.
So that's all canceled. All right.
Was there anything we needed to ask Pete? Or
Just, I was asking if maybe Pete could answer the question on Hoover Ball, if he knows anything.
I don't
That's
think
the
he does.
association.
He doesn't do Hoover Ball.
No, I know, I just didn't know if he knew anything about it, since he's
I think
there more often than the rest of us.
I think Jerry and I've talked, and I think they're leaning towards canceling it, but still trying to do some type of a picnic or something. So nothing that would draw a crowd, but I think the foundation would like to do something to observe Hoover's birthday. But I think it takes a little longer to put the tournament together than maybe what you're estimating. So it
Well,
takes a little bit of work.
Brad, who runs it mostly, said most of the people don't sign up until days before. So they're just holding out right now.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's between Brad and Jerry, but that's.
Are we still, I think we should still move ahead with a permit process, Pete, or is that totally it?
Honestly, unless the CDC raises the limit from 250 people up to 600, 700, 800 people, I don't think I'm going to be able to approve the permit because
There'd be no people in the park. Zero people in the park.
Well, that's easy to say here at this meeting, but there's typically about 800 people that show up.
Well, that's because we have a band. That's
That's
there won't
true,
be a
but
band.
still, I think we'd have to have a conversation about that because I've got one law enforcement person, and keeping people out would be complicated.
All right. It's kind of a definite maybe yet. I'm not sure where we're at on that.
And I would, it's not related to this, but the fire department thing, especially with everything, the potential loss of them not having it, and then combined with the potential loss of the businesses in the area because of this. I mean, is there any thought process of just doing, like maybe the fire department sells a $20 coupon for any business in West Branch, the Mexican Herbs, for $30, so you get $10 out of it as a donation, and then people can still use it for food for the businesses in town. Not to say that maybe that's been brought up in one of your meetings, but I just spitballing popped into my head, and it might be a good way for the fire department to still get their money, and then maybe some of the businesses in town can recoup a little bit from the loss as well. I don't know how easy that is, but
My opinion is, the fire department started this many years ago to give back to the community. So it wasn't started as a fundraiser for the fire department. It was our turn to give back. I personally think that as the fire department, we are to serve and protect. And I don't think if we were to go, my personal opinion, this is not, I am not speaking for the fire department, is if we go ahead with, the fire department goes ahead with it, I don't think that they will be protecting the community like they're supposed to be.
Well, that's why I was just thinking, all you do is you mail in your $30, you get your $20 West Branch gets back in the mail, and there's no interaction. So it's kind of, we're supporting the fire community and you're still supporting the community businesses, in a matter of fact of trying to recoup the fact that that's going to be a huge hit, not having hometown days for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
It could be $20 to anything. We're talking clothes, we're talking food, we're talking just like a West Branch voucher.
It's downtown dollars.
Yes.
$20 downtown dollars.
That's all I was
They're good
thinking.
anywhere.
I mean, might be a good idea. I'm not part of those conversations.
All right, let's move on. High school parking lot. Resolution 1902, approving the West Branch High School softball parking lot site. Let me need a motion somewhere. Nick, give me a second. Is that you, Colton?
No. No.
No.
No second? Leaves you, Jerry.
I'll second it. I do have some
Interesting.
reservations though.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the high school parking lot site plan. Brian Belk, you're out there and you've been waiting.
Still here.
Just made a phone call when we were ready for you.
Go ahead, Brian. Give us a brief explanation. We've seen the plan though.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I mean, as you all know, this is a paving of what is currently existing gravel rock parking lot there at the high school, just west of the softball field. The district has asked to put plans together for construction to pave that parking lot. I think for a couple of things. One, just because of the use that it gets for events such as softball and overflow for other events, but also in lieu of the bond work coming and lack of or loss of maybe other parking stalls during that construction, that this would be in place to provide a more permanent surface for parked vehicles at the time and during construction. What you see there is pretty close, somewhat similar to what is there now in gravel, but more defined with the number of parking stalls. I believe we have 64 stalls there. The intent is a concrete surface with curb and gutter, drainage flowing out of the northeast into the existing drainage ditch, similar to what it does now. There is sidewalk on the south side that would be put in around the concession stand and connecting to the existing sidewalk that goes south to the stairs and to the school. Currently, a couple of different alternates in there were to take the right turn lane and construct that into a more permanent concrete right turn lane. As you may recall, it's an asphalt surface now that was done several years ago with some parking projects. And then also subsurface drainage, perforated drain tile around the concession stand and to the north to that drainage ditch. Again, they've had issues with water in the concession stand on a number of occasions every year. Hoping to take care of that both by paving around it, getting drainage off it surface-wise, as well as getting some perforated tile around the building as well. Lighting, replacing what is a existing old light there now, very similar to where, or I'm sorry, close proximity to where the new south light is shown on that south painted median. That would be replaced with 2 new LED downcast lights to again, provide safety and obviously lighting the parking lot and the sidewalk there to the south. I think that's kind of a summary.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Brian? So the reason they want this is because they're gonna lose some parking spots during construction. In the winter, They want this because this will provide some plowable parking surface for students.
I have a question. What's the total cost on this?
It hasn't been bid out yet. Our estimate was, I want to say 165,000 if I remember correctly. Somewhere in that ballpark.
It's Pebble money. Pebble. Okay, any questions for Brian? Any discussion?
I have one question, and this is, I don't see any kind of retention for this. It's all, looks like it's all just gonna dump into the creek, which with concrete, we're not gonna have any permeable. It seems like this is gonna add to excessive water.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and thank you, Jerry, because there's a couple items I should note that Dave and I discussed and Dave brought up during the review process. So that's one of them. The stormwater basin proposed or would be built with the bond project on the northeast side of the school property is sized accordingly. That runoff from this is part of the off-site runoff of stormwater management, similar to what it does now. Obviously, you can argue a little bit, between packed down gravel rock and the perviousness of that versus concrete. But you're correct, it is running the same pattern as it does now into that ditch north and then to the east. It would not get incorporated into that basin, but again, is accounted for in the overall stormwater calculations of the site as a whole. So when you're doing the stormwater management calcs and detaining, there is so much that you have to account for and detain, and then there's also some that you do not. And this would be part of that off-site that runs off and is not detained, but was looked at as the overall whole of the project. Again, it's running the same as it is now, but again, with a concrete surface versus a packed down rock. One of the other items was in regards to traffic control. Looked whether or not we could get that access from the main school access, the drive into the parking lot itself, further south to provide some more gap or spacing from West Main Street. A couple things that come into play there is one, that topography keeps getting worse as you go south, so that that incline or decline as you look at that change in elevation gets more severe as you go south, and would create some really steep driveway, as well as confine that existing ditch along the west side of the parking that goes north-south. So instead, what we did discuss it with the school, though. I mean, it's similar to what they're doing now. It's no different. It's in that same location, but we did discuss different signage and ways to handle traffic control, again, during like an event type activity, to make sure that we're not keeping traffic queued up on West Main Street.
So are you saying that the new construction with the addition of the school, is that offsetting the retention that's going in there? Is that offsetting what has been going down to the creek? Because there's no retention for all that parking up there now, or very little. Is the new retention for the new construction offsetting what this is going to add? Be my question. That makes sense.
Yes, I mean, more or less, I guess, from what I'm following what you're saying. Yeah, so it accounts for, yes, there's so much that you can account for as off-site drainage that does not get incorporated into that detainment and that management, and this would be part of that area, but mainly because of, again, where it sits elevation-wise comparatively to everything else.
I guess
It may not be specifically accounted for, but it's
well,
so
I guess we were looking at
somewhere.
we had a business in town that wanted to put a business in here, and we were going to make them do a retention underneath the parking lot, which was going to cost them thousands and thousands of dollars to do, and we possibly lost that business because we wanted them to do a retention on a parking lot, and here to me, we're adding a pretty good surface here that's gonna drain directly to the creek and not compensating it with stopping more drainage coming off of the new project to pick up what this is adding. That makes sense.
Makes sense.
So the new project isn't gonna hold more water back than this is gonna create down the
Right.
stream.
Okay.
Is there not a way, Brian, to put a small retention there to slow that flow down?
Seems like there'd be a way.
I mean, it looks like to me it's just a direct flow. It comes off the parking lot, goes direct to the ditch and downstream, and there's no slowing this water flow.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct. We have the erosion stone, velocity dissipation in the grass that would be there, similar to what it is now.
But you got one looks like probably a 9-foot outlet for that water to come through. And
yep,
I know in the past, actually, this is coming from an employee at the school. The rock basins at the end of the parking lot straight north of the school, with all the winter sanding they do, which they don't use sand, they use aggregate, that washes down and it's filled all the rock basin, and now the rock basin is not being utilized like it's supposed to, and the water just runs straight across. So even if it has a rock basin at the end, in 5 to 10 years, that will no longer be there. And the water coming off that parking lot will go directly to the creek with nothing to slow it down.
I've seen those parking lots where they have the permeable pavers as the parking spaces, but not in the drive.
That's way too expensive. Way too expensive.
A detention.
Even if it's just the parking spaces, is still cost prohibitive?
Oh, yeah.
Those permeable pavers are pricey.
Yeah, and you gotta clean it every time.
Yeah, the bigger thing on that's even the maintenance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same deal. Those work fine in a southern climate where you don't have to worry about freezing and thawing. But when you have to put sand and salt of some sort, which the company that's doing their stuff is using like I say, it's a rock. It's bigger than sand, so it works great, but it also plugs up all this. So
okay.
I guess my question would be: is there a way to put a retention to help slow this down, or you don't have room for
it? Yeah, I mean, it would not be much in size. There's not a lot of room there, before you hit the ditch, other than, possibly a bioswale type situation right off the end. Other than that, in terms of a true, in terms of a true detention or basin, there's definitely not room there for that. I mean, one of the differences too, I will say, Jerry, is between, going from a vacant land to a new development. Again, the coefficient and the runoff difference between packed down gravel, it's been that way for years, versus concrete isn't a whole heck of a lot different in terms of what that runoff is coming off there from now to what it will be.
Okay.
But that would be the one option I could see, is some type of biocell or bioswale on the north side.
Okay. Any other questions for Brian? Guess we need to vote then. Curious.
I guess one question would be: is P&Z, I'm assuming,
they
approved this? Did they have any concerns, questions? Was there any talk about this?
Yeah, we talked about it. There wasn't a whole lot. We talked about the lighting and safety. I pretty much brought up all the same points we did tonight, but they didn't have much.
And I guess the other question would be, to your point, your first point, they want to get this done before they work on the project. There's got to be a way that if we say, tell the city that, yeah, we'll approve this, but we'll approve this with the caveat that you're going to take whatever water comes off this. When you do your other project, you got a place to store it so it doesn't go down. I mean, that's,
You can't store this for that other, at the other place, though.
you know, you limit it. You could say this gives you 100 gallons. That's super low, obviously. And then you're going to extra 100 gallons, and you would say up at the project, it also is going to go in the creek. You take 100 gallons off of that. So then
That's what's happening now.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to explain. Yeah. So that basin is compensating for this additional.
Okay, that was my question.
That was Jerry, yeah.
That was my question, is the new project compensating for the water that's coming off of this and
Yeah, it's oversized. I'm sorry if I misunderstood you.
I'm uncomfortable with creating this here when we're not sure exactly what we're gonna end up with on West Main Street. You know, we don't understand what,
And they kind of, isn't that already partially there with the asphalt?
yeah,
The
but.
turn lane, you mean?
Yeah, but
Turn
we
lane?
don't know what there's gonna be.
He wants to
on-
concrete it.
On a turn lane, you know, there's supposed to be maybe some added turn lanes
Oh,
on
yeah, I know.
Main Street and that type of stuff.
Yeah, that would have to get removed.
And all that,
Guarantee it,
yeah.
whatever this is.
and all that stuff's still up in the air, so, I mean, would make sense to hold off on this until we got that figured out.
At least that portion of it.
Yeah, I mean, they could do the parking lot
You're
part,
thinking-
not that part.
and you're thinking because the turning lanes may
If the road gets widened 8 feet to the south, this little
I think
turn
what I
lane
wanna
here
say,
would have to get
impede.
removed.
You're feeling that the turning lane may impede what they're trying to do here.
Well, not only that, we're not even sure that the last I heard was that the turning lane might not even happen.
Right.
So
If it does,
if it doesn't, I wouldn't want to make permanent parking up here where you're promoting people to come in here and park.
yeah, I don't either, because this in a big event gets used. I mean, it's completely filled. And they use the grass and everything up the sides. I mean, it.
And then you run.
So Brian, can you tell us, are they losing parking stalls in the new construction? And this is gonna get it back to where they were, or?
I honestly don't know the answer to that, Jerry. I'm not sure.
No, the new, once it's all said,
No, Jerry's talking in the middle of construction. You know, there's
I mean,
30
they're gonna-
spots to like put
No,
equipment.
I'm talking
Oh,
in
you're-
the end.
no, in the
Yeah.
end, they're not losing any parking stalls, and they add a few.
This is gonna add to the new too.
Building coming out, like on that east corner, isn't it kind of jutting out like this? So I think it does take some parking spots.
But they're adding
It
to the
will,
west.
they're adding a
They're
whole
adding
new
more.
parking stalls to the east.
Or the
Yes,
A
east.
whole new parking.
So it's-
It'd be twice this size
It's
almost.
taking some of the spots from on the east side that they added.
Correct. So they're not gonna lose any. This is here basically for construction. During
gonna be there.
construction, they're gonna lose a lot because they need the staging grounds.
Correct. And it's really defining what's already there with some curb and gutter too, so people aren't driving, as Roger, to parking all over the place and on the grass and everything else.
I just would feel more comfortable if I knew what was gonna happen on West Main Street.
Colton, this is Dave Scheckinger. I've been working with Dave Panos from Shive Hattery on that. They presented 3 options. We talked through those last week. Dave is working with the school district to refine those further. There were some issues that we had discussed that he had not incorporated that he wanted to get firm cost estimates on and then present those back to Marty. So I think they're still moving forward with that pretty well. The options look pretty reasonable. I don't think there's a large impact to that entrance from any of those options. we might be looking at 12 feet to the south is the most. If they were to widen on the south side, they're looking at trying to split that. So I don't really see that the parking lot creates a huge issue. The bigger concern, and Brian's addressed this in the response letter that he put together, is if we start getting quite a bit of traffic on Main Street trying to turn left in there, and somebody comes in and wants to turn left into the parking lot right away, and they're waiting for people pulling out, that locks that up. We need to make sure that if we see that start to happen, they have a plan in place, which he's documented in that letter, that they would just send people, they wouldn't allow them to turn left. They'd have to go up to the school, turn around and come back and enter the parking lot after they're going back towards Main Street. So they would make a right turn into the parking lot instead. And that plan was put in place as a contingency so that if there are issues that develop that aren't being seen now, we have a way to deal with that.
Yeah, the school would take on that responsibility to direct that traffic. I mean, they know when the big events are, track meets and graduations or whatever. So they can handle that. They could.
I think they've done that plan already.
They've done it a number of times.
Yep.
The Lions have done it with them. So, okay. Any other questions for anybody? Guess I'm ready to vote. Go ahead, Leslie.
Councilperson Goodweiler?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Miller?
No.
Stolman?
No.
Dean?
No.
Okay.
I want to find
Can
out.
I ask what your
school's
concerns
gonna do.
are? They
I want
need
to
to
find
know.
out what they're going to, I concur with Colton. I want to know what's going to go on Main Street.
Turn lane, the Main Street
Yeah.
was your reason for turning this down.
I
I
wanna
just
know-
want so they know, they need to
I
know.
want to know what's going to go on Main Street, what the options are and who's going to pay for it.
Can I ask how that impacts the parking lot? Because the parking lot will stay there, even if they don't pave, there's still a parking lot there.
The traffic will be backed up coming from the east and coming from the west. I don't have confidence in someone being down at the school, down at that intersection, not letting anyone pull into the left.
Not paving this isn't going to change that, though. It's still going to be a parking lot.
Well, then they'll be back, if they're not down there directing traffic to go up and turn around, then they'll be backed up on Main Street.
I know. I guess what I'm saying is, though, it's the same thing. No matter if you pass it or not, it's still going to be a parking lot. We're just paving it. It's already there. The turn lane's already there. Nothing's changing geometrically. It's just taking gravel to concrete.
The school have no intentions of addressing West Main Street?
No, they are. They're working on it. They're working on West Main Street.
I guess once we see that plan, then it should be a no-brainer.
To me, a scenario that could be addressed or could be brought up as possibility would be to widen their access there and make it kind of an island, so you can't turn there. You have to go up through the parking lot and come back down to go into that parking stall. That eliminates anybody turning there. You have to go all the way up in there. That keeps the traffic flowing. It doesn't. You go up in there, you turn around, you come back
When
down.
it's real heavy, you gotta go all the way up and back.
When you make the island long enough, it goes past the entrance there, so you have to go through the traffic, through the parking lot to get there.
Dave Scheckinger, any idea when we might see a plan on the West Main? Marty's probably pushing for it, I'm sure.
I would suspect that I would hear at least something preliminary back from Shipe Hattery this week yet.
Yeah. Okay, so that's in the works. I think once we know what's going to go on there, this could be brought back again. And how do we bring it back again, though?
One of us.
One of you no voters. One of you no voters has to allow it to come back.
And all you have to do is.
I'll allow it to come back.
Okay.
The only way it's,
All right.
the only way it's gonna be solved in that manner, though, would be if the school said there's not gonna be a parking.
It's always going to be a parking lot.
Well, then
If
we're
it
always
is
gonna
now,
have the
it's-
problem.
Or bring us a plan for Main Street so we can figure out what's going on there.
Both sides. both sides of the
I
softball.
get,
Oh, yeah.
I know, I get
Mr.
what,
Brian's
I wanna
point
know
is,
what
I get what you're saying, Cole, but the thing is that doesn't change the difference if that's dirt or if that's concrete. And all this was for was to make it
even,
concrete.
I guess the point is, even if there's a turning lane there, if it's backed up, people are trying to get out of it and they can't turn into that parking lot, it doesn't matter. If there's a turning lane there or not, it's still gonna back up on the on Main Street, no matter what.
The only way you're gonna solve it is not a parking lot or.
Yeah, you're right. You completely take it out. of the
It's
park.
acting no different than it has for years and years.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's the only possible way to solve it, regardless of what you do to Main Street, is if that's just not a parking lot. Right. And I don't think that's on their table. Obviously, if they're trying to pave it, I don't think that's on their radar.
Okay, it'll get revisited. I have a feeling we'll talk about it again. We gotta move on.
Come up with a way it doesn't back up on it, on Main.
Item 8, approving liability insurance with IA Cap. This is our, what is this?
Liability and casualty.
This is a resolution 1903. Workers' comp. Lost myself. Resolution 1903, approving liability insurance proposal with Iowa Communities Insurance Program, ICAP. This is what we've had for many years now.
About 5 years.
A little bit less than last year. Give me a motion, someone.
So moved.
Colton. Nick will second. Any discussion? This is liability on buildings, equipment.
Buildings, automobile, vehicles, property, equipment breakdown, crime, bond, that's not very much. Public officials, wrongful acts, law enforcement liability, general liability.
Any discussion? Any questions? Let's vote, Leslie.
Councilperson Miller,
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
All right, 1904, resolution 1904, approving workers' comp proposal with Iowa Municipal Workers' Compensation Association. Give me a motion, someone. Jerry? Nick again.
This looks like a no-brainer.
Okay, do we pay workforce development?
No.
That's workers' comp.
Workforce development is hiring people or unemployment compensation. Workforce development is related to hiring. Workers' compensation is insurance for injured employees.
That's not through workers' comp, workforce development, is it?
That is correct. You have to go out and buy that from an insurance company.
Okay. Any other thoughts, questions?
It seems to me that hiring Jose is more than
He's paid for himself.
himself and, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's vote, Leslie.
Councilperson Sexton?
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
All right, salaries, resolution 1900. Setting the salaries for the appointed officers and employees for the next fiscal year ending in June of 2021. Give me a motion, please. Nick?
I'll
Jerry will second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would like to raise Ben, I don't know how to say his last name. Lichter.
What do you propose?
Besides the cost of living, I would like to, he's been here 5 years. I personally think he does a very good job, but so I'd like to give him $1 more.
How many hours does he work?
30
30 hours a week?
from
So it's like-
approximately the middle of April to Matt can tell you the end of October,
So he's not even 1,500 hours a year.
full-time employee. He
Probably
just,
1,000 hours a year.
He works 28 weeks at 30 hours a week.
900 hours a year. Only 900 more dollars. I could support that. Anybody else?
I'll
do.
See you in a second. Is that what you're looking for? Is that what you're fishing for here? I'll second it.
I'm not real happy with Officer Sting's pay either.
Being low. She'll be full-time eventually.
July 1st.
Oh, that would be her pay. Is that correct?
No, that's 30, based on 30 hours.
20 hours.
This is her current salary plus the 1.6. She hasn't gotten her increase with her, whatever she's
Full-time,
hired at.
no, not yet.
That'll be separate. This is just the 1.6 for everybody.
This is the 1.6 for everybody. She will get, when she becomes
She'll probably get a
full-time,
bump when she goes
Yeah,
full-time.
she
but
will.
yeah.
That paperwork hasn't been finalized. As far as I know, I haven't seen it.
She becoming full-time one, excuse me.
It
Whenever
should
she
be,
goes full-time.
Yeah, when she goes full time, whatever she.
imagine being another $5 an hour because Derek Holmes is getting.
it would be slightly more than Derek Holmes' salary when she does
Yeah.
full-time.
Right. Okay, how do I handle an amendment to this then? I guess it's just noted that right now, do I need a consensus or I vote on that for Ben?
I think you vote on the amendment first.
Okay. Jody, who made the motion? Me?
Oh,
Nick and Jerry? Jody wants to make an amendment to the motion to increase Ben's pay by $1 an hour. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
Tom will second that motion. If there's any discussion on that particular item, hearing none, we will vote on the amendment to raise Ben's salary to $14.91 an hour.
15.
$15.91.
And then the cost of living.
That is the cost.
This is.
Oh, this is.
This
the-
with it,
okay.
this is gonna make,
All right,
yeah.
okay, all right, yep,
Okay, let's vote on that amendment then.
Okay, Stulman,
yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Goodweiler,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sexton.
yes.
Okay. That becomes $1 more now. Now the whole package. Is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's vote on the whole salary proposal.
That goes back to the original. So
Yeah.
Goodweiler,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Stulman,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Just have
Okay,
one comment.
yeah,
To avoid this in the future, it shouldn't take Jody to say, hey, I want to give this guy another $1. We really need to, I know we're working on it, but I just want to make it aware, we really need to come up with some sort of policy
Yes.
for either if you hit your
Time.
5 year, you get this, or
Yeah.
Matt can put them in. Or,
Tom's got a plan.
yeah, no, but I'm just, we need, I mean, we can't be just tagging random,
You're
not
right.
that he doesn't
No.
deserve it, but we can't be just tagging random dollars on the COLA improvements
You and I have
Every
been
other
talking about
year,
this for
yeah.
2-3 years now.
every other year, every 5 years, that somebody remembers that, hey, he's been here 5 years. And because we have 2-year
Okay,
terms, I mean, we're gone. I mean, it'd be like, I have no idea how long he's been here. Well, he's here 10 years with no raise.
that's a good point. Item 11, resolution 1907, authorizing transfer of funds. This is to pay for college. I need a motion somewhere. Jody, Nick will second. This is what we talked about last time,
That is correct.
to transfer out of sewer, water, and general fund to help pay for College Street and Second Street.
That is correct.
Okay. Anybody have a question? Let's vote then, Leslie.
Councilperson Stulman,
Yes.
Goodweiler,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Okay. City Administrator.
So, Dave, you can also chime in if you like. But I want to start off just talking a little bit about the wastewater task force. We did get a chance to meet. We've got to the point now that we're ready to move forward with the intended use plan, the IUP that we will refer to it. That's given the moving forward with doing the loan for the planning and design. So that process would be reviewed by DNR, and we start assigning the paperwork today. So that's going. The deadline was today to get that in, and that should be approved sometime in September. Took the liberty to kind of go on a revised what our schedule would be and the things that would still need to happen. We're about 50% through the various tasks. We're basically about 10 months behind schedule of the original schedule. But things start moving pretty quickly after we get the IUP approval in. So I kind of have that there in front of you. Dave, was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, Redmond, I think that's a pretty good summary of where we're at. The facility plan has been reviewed by staff, and that was part of that IUP application. So that all went in today to DNR.
Gotcha. So everything else I reported on last week is still there. We're still entertaining whatever might come of our pilot project, but we're working on two paths. And I would say when we get to the point of thoroughly doing design and plans and specs, we're probably at a point of no return until we get there. So you see that's somewhere around December. We'll probably get to a point where we're going to be hard and fast on one path, but there's still some chances out there. Seems like there's some maybe some excitement about doing the pilot project with University of Iowa being involved. So we'll just see how that all plays out. I supported or supplied you with a note from our safety committee. We did meet and been talking about the protocols that the city's been doing with COVID-19. Jose Gongora has provided the safety committee with valuable information, and he recommends that we continue to do at least this format for another month. But I know that it's up to council. I know you wanted to review how we move forward. So that's just kind of there. And then our current cases, I think it was mentioned that we're still getting a lot of cases, and Cedar County we're at 48. We're at 46, I think, just last week. So we're picking up a couple cases even in our county. So it's not over yet. So I guess we kind of, I had a conversation with Jody this last Friday, and we were talking about Hoover Hometown Days, if it was going to be funded or not. Obviously, we had made some recommendations to hold off on a couple of positions as it relates to July 1st. And if Hoover Hometown Days being a general fund supported account didn't happen, it could give us a little more comfort level in moving forward with our general fund employee at the first of July. So I think I should talk a little bit earlier, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but bring Kathy on at the beginning of the fiscal year versus I think we were talking about in October, because that's when some of our revenue projections will come in and we would see where we are, was a thought. So I told her I would bring this forward and see if the council had any kind of desire to bring Kathy on at the beginning of the fiscal year when we originally had planned for it before COVID-19. So any thoughts? And Jody, any thoughts?
With everything that's going on out there these days, I feel that we need to do this sooner, not later.
When I got on the council, I wanted to separate the wants from the needs. This is a need.
She's scheduled for 20 hours a week, or she's currently working about 30, I think.
She's working 30, and we've maintained that 30. I think there was at one time maybe going out at 25, but we maintained the 30. So
that's
it'll at least be that, but
still no overtime.
No.
Overtime.
She gets overtime when she works on
Holiday.
She gets overtime when she works on the holidays.
School's kicking in 10,000 of her salary.
And school is partnering pieces of that, and we're hoping to get more, and they just haven't got to the point in their budget to know. We also, I mean, it's not just for her, but we also plan on working out agreement with Pete and helping him as well. So we also believe that the police department's going to get a little augmentation with helping National Park Service too.
When was she originally scheduled to start?
Originally, it was July 1st. And then when we found out that we might have 25% at least, and maybe even more on our revenue projections, particularly in road use, but we figured that it's going to affect road use with spillover and affect general fund. So that's where we got cautious and wanted to see. But if we know that we're not going to be expending as much from general fund because of something like Hoover Hometown Days not being funded in portion or in all.
I mean, even if you do have the fireworks, that's 25,000. We still gain 50,000 that we could cover for her salary.
Where do you get
this
that,
year?
Jody?
Excuse me?
Where do you get the 50,000 you're talking
Well, we spend 70 to 75,000 total. Total.
Some of it's on one and some of it's on the other.
So
Still-
69,000 budgeted for Hoover Hometown Days next year. 69,000. That is an
We can spend
increase.
60 to 70.
This would be a
used to be
July
over
1,
80.
so this would be a chunk of that.
Used to be
Yeah.
close to 100.
It doesn't have to be all that because again, we're only talking some months here.
Like lots of ways, I don't know if it's still like this, but that 69,000 is not even for all of next year, this year's Hoover Days. It's for part of next year's Hoover Days because it was supposed to have money, should still be money in our budget this year for this year's Hoover Days. You know what I'm saying?
We'd like
Because
to
you have to-
pigeonhole.
Because we split it between the two.
You have to pay a lot of the stuff before July 1st rolls around.
But for sure, we know we're not going to do inflatables. That assists. That helps. It just helps with the comfort level. That's all.
So you're saying, Jody, you're looking at turn her into a full-time employee earlier, which puts us 4 police officers or 5 police officers full-time.
And we would have 24-hour. The chiefs had said in the past that he needs 5 full-time employees to have 24-hour coverage. This would give us the 24-hour coverage.
So when the chief leaves, we're back to 4.
Right.
Well, I know with the new chief, but it very,
Depends on what we're gonna have to hire.
well, I know that, but it's just whether or not you.
I can tell you right now,
saying
I'm
no.
not an advocate for a fifth police officer.
I could do 5 officers until the chief
Part-time
retires.
picks up.
But after that, we're just
Right.
not big enough for 5 officers.
Yeah.
We're not. To afford it for one thing, and then we don't need 24/7 coverage.
Yeah, we do with Interstate 80 going through our town, yet our community. Yes, we do. We do. You know what is going on out there? We don't live in a bubble. West Branch does not live in a bubble. Everybody likes to think that we do, and I wish we would, but we don't.
I drive through town on Sunday mornings that no one in town. Yes, I don't know. Okay.
Okay,
Kind of know where
so
we're at.
I do.
On that.
And so I know for our meeting Wednesday, add Wapsie Park or Wapsie widening. Is that what we want to do? In addition to the evaluation?
Yeah, let's put that subject on the public notice. Due to a real estate, the value of real estate or whatever.
Yeah.
The disclaimer is.
I'll run it through Kevin to make sure it's stated correctly.
Yep.
Okay. I think that was everything I wanted to cover.
Okay. Attorney Olson?
I got nothing.
Good boy. Melissa, you've been out there a while. You got anything to say?
Did you say me?
Yeah. Yeah. Wake up.
Yeah, sorry, wasn't really paying attention. Hey, so we have some programs we're trying for this summer, some virtual programs. All the registration stuff is out on the city website. People can check that out. We're not running any contact programs this summer through Parks and Rec. So we're trying something new, trying to be safe. Fields and rentals open up this week, so that'll keep us busy with Parks and Rec. We're working on all the social distancing guidelines. And I guess that's about what I have right now.
Cubby Park sign. And then maybe next time we'll see a proposal.
Yeah, they didn't have a mock-up done yet, so
Not yet.
I'll have
No
to
problem.
hold off on that. But
No problem. Okay, any of us? Wednesday night is a review, 7:30. Gotta work late. Wednesday night is Redlands review. We'll talk about.
I was just gonna say, I wish I had 96 hours of sick leave. I'd just take a day, but.
Last thing I want to bring up, we've got a lot of unmown lawns around town, and I'm getting sick of seeing long grass. We only charge $100 for some of these people to mow their lawn. First of all, we got to get the letters out to let them know we're coming. Once they get that letter, we can mow it. We got to get that started.
So I guess I should say, I did go on a maiden voyage of code enforcement. So we have our code enforcement truck, code enforcement on the side.
Maybe you'll notice something.
Yeah. So, and we did get out letters Friday, and there's a couple of deadlines that's been set, and there's some courtesy stickers also that's been set out. So
Some of these
What is
lawns,
the policy
if
on
we
the
mow it, we
mowing?
charge it's $35 an hour, but
But
it costs them $100 sometimes. It's pretty good deal if you got a big lawn. We only do it once a month or maybe twice a month.
It's not even.
So
Do we have to give them?
I want to make it hurt more. We need to charge 200, 250 bucks. We're gonna drive across town and do some guy's lawn. Because he's not mowing his lawn. I'm getting sick of it.
So Roger, there's the one person, you know him because you were building right next.
I know.
And why is their yard allowed to get this tall before we do anything?
I don't know what happened this year. I just don't know. Why did it take so long?
So that's the one that got the letter. And
So one?
He just got it now, though.
he just got it this week.
Because we talked about it 3 days ago.
Oh no, I mean yeah, he
That
got it 3
started
days
going.
ago. He got it the day that 3 days we talked about it. But I think since we are just rolled out our new code 50 or whatever, you get the fee and you also get the penalty. And we forget about the penalty. The penalty is $250 on the first time, $750 on the second time that we have to do it, and $1,000 on the third time. That's in addition to the cost of the fee. So we can
He mowed his
still,
lawn 6 times last year. I'm thinking this is the 7th time now.
yeah, he will have almost a $7,000 bill. But
He was out there this weekend with pruning shears.
I saw that, yeah. Not doing any good.
yeah, so and at least once a week there'll be at least one tour of the city.
Are you the enforcer?
I'm the enforcer.
You're the one that drives the new vehicle?
I'm the one that's been driving it around.
Okay, anyway, that's all, that's my comment. Anybody, anything else? Motion to adjourn? Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody.
I'll do it for $20.
By the way, you missed it, Jerry. We condensed the garbage meeting